sticking to me. So I guess it's true.
I
I guess when I got
you
my
have
booster shot today.
oh my God.
So I
I
guess
mean,
it's true. It makes you magnetic.
you've always had a magnetic personality, but this is next level.
Yeah. I mean, I'm starting to become a believer now. I don't know. Maybe I should
Steve, you've got silverware on your head.
it's stainless steel, so it's magnetic, I guess, And I've heard this. I've seen it on the internet that getting the vaccination makes you magnetic, and wow, apparently it does.
So you
Imagine my
actually
surprise.
so you got your booster.
Yeah, I got a booster and a flu shot.
Wait, at the same time?
Yeah.
It's like pow, pow. You got
Yeah.
a jab and you got a hook?
Get it over with. Get
Okay,
it
and you're
the
feeling
hell over
okay.
with. Yeah. Yeah, well, it was only 6 hours ago. I'll be on my ass tomorrow, I'm sure.
Well, that's gonna be from whatever the hell it is you're drinking over there.
Could very well be.
What are you drinking over there? I see all of our friends here are chiming in with, oh, dude, Irish cream and pepperoni pizza?
Nice, nice.
I don't know if that's nice. That sounds dangerous. Oh, the wee beastie. Excellent. I've got the Ugadal over here. Yes. Ardbeg in the house.
Our dealer in Texas, Austin Guitar House, had their
Wow.
10th anniversary, and they got bottles of this Texas bourbon called Iron Root. So this is the Iron Root Harbinger, which
Okay.
is
No.
45 ABV.
Okay.
And I'm learning from this. It's pretty highly rated. I mean their bourbon, some they were awarded like the best bourbon in the world like last year or something
What?
like that. Yeah.
Every time I turn around, somebody's the best bourbon in the world. I can't keep track. 'Cause I think what it is there's a lot of different classes,
Yeah.
right?
So
Aaron Rodgers is not magnetic. This is
yeah,
true.
I haven't tried it yet because I wasn't sure if I could drink and be magnetic at the same time, but I'm going to try it now. But anyway, yeah,
Wayne,
I was in the place, I mean, this whole thing about I made an appointment a week ago. I went in there for my a scheduled appointment time, and there was a long line in there, and the people that were the people that work there. So I got there about close to noon,
okay.
and there had been a lot of people that had been waiting a little while. And so there was a lot of
Okay.
frustration, and the staff, you could tell they've been getting hit pretty hard. And
Yeah.
they were feeling
They
weren't.
were magnetic in terms of complaints and abuse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to the point where they were all out of fucks. I mean, seriously, I was almost taken aback by it a little bit, and I came in there and waited patiently and talked to a couple of people that were, came in about the same time I did, and we were having nice, pleasant little chit chat, and people are starting to lose their shit, and we're just like going, people just got to understand that this is what happens. That it's not that big of a deal. All these people that are here waiting are trying to do the right thing, but still it gets frustrating.
Right.
They're not always paying attention. You have to wait a long time. So you look around and you're looking at the shelves and stuff. And then my name gets called up and some girl jumps in my face and she goes, I was here before you. And
Did you give her
I
a
was
big
starting,
farm? Get out of my way.
I was starting to say,
It's booster time.
I saw you when you came in after me. You just were busy with your dog. I started to say that, and the guy who was going to administer my shot just like got in front of me, and he got right in her face and said, call corporate and complain to them, and if you wanna go someplace else and get it, you're welcome to do so." And then he dragged me into the room,
Oh, he was
and
done. He was
he was
done.
done, and I was trying to say, "Look, it's okay." He starts like, I know that I know you had to wait a long time. I know you're frustrated." And I said, "Actually, I'm not frustrated. I know these things takes time. I'm having a great day. I understand that you're under a lot of pressure. I'm not giving you any. You just let me know when you're ready to rip and what you want me to do, and I'm good to go." And
Yeah.
he's like, he so did not know what to say
Are you for
that
real?
he kept kind of unloading on me a little bit.
He probably
Like,
went, "You know what? We're actually gonna give you the premium vaccine then. Come on to
you
the
know,
back room. You'll get the
he
good one."
s he says, "We're gonna do one on the right and one on the left." And I said, "What happens if you do them both on the left?" And he says, "Okay, we're gonna do both on the left." And I'm like, "It doesn't matter anyway." I said, "Okay, whatever. Hey, you call the shots." And
Yeah,
even trying to joke with the guy, it was, he was beyond that, unfortunately. He
yeah.
was like, I said, "It's okay. I'm at your command. You just tell me what, and then I'll get the hell out of your hair. I know you got a lot of people to deal with." And it's like
You,
going,
you
and he
left
went on and on about, um, uh, it was almost like he was egging me on to call the corporate head office and complain because he felt it was overbooked, it wasn't safe. Uh, they were trying to do their best to keep their customers safe, and the management was making it impossible. And he was kind of like egging people on to go bitch.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I kind of picked up on that, and I just like went, "Yeah, I can relate to that, but I'll just be happy to get my thing done and get out." And that's what I did. And
So you were
um,
actually contrarian in that particular situation.
there were a
Still,
few people like that who were just, "Yeah, we get it.
you left your inner malcontent at home today,
Because what good is it gonna do? All is it gonna do is make people more upset and cause more problems, and nobody needs that right now, you
right?
know?
You
Everybody
guys
needs to be
Your
everybody needs to be
comments are hilarious.
encouraged to do the right thing, which is, what are you doing? Are you going and getting yourself taken care of? No, you're going and doing a thing that will help other people be taken care of. So, and that's really what at the root of all this is, isn't it? And
Well,
so I
yeah, but I mean, it's the same attitude, that you can practice when you're trying to get your oil changed or your brakes pads
No, screw all that,
changed.
man. I want those breaks done in, like, 5 minutes flat, and if you can't
Oh, man.
manage
Like I
that,
was
then
telling you earlier, like, I've I'm fortunate to have spent time in third world countries to actually see what it's like when you can't have everything that you want fulfilled like that, and you actually really have to practice patience, and then when you come back here, you're like, "Oh, this
right
isn't so
back at
bad."
you, Steve Lark. Yeah, right back at you. The supply
Didn't know you were a line cutter, Steve.
chain
It was awesome.
issue.
Uh,
I've cut a few lines in my day, yeah, come to think of
I
it.
I've never been that cool. I've cut the cheese, that's about it. Don't laugh. It's not funny.
How
So
you
we
guys
got
all
we got
doing?
Paige Hamilton coming on later, guys.
It's
We're
good to
we
be
we
here.
didn't stuff him in the locker. We're not hiding him. He's showing up in a little bit.
Yeah, he'll be here at 8.
Yeah.
He's, uh he's working on a recording project, and we don't know what it is. We will ask. You will ask. We will all ask, and then we will know. And, um, man, what a week! What a couple of weeks!
What happened?
Amazing stuff going on.
I don't know what happened. I
I
did
don't
a
know what
bunch of
happened.
stuff. Then I showed
Yeah,
up
I
here
did a
again.
bunch of stuff, and then I did some other stuff, and then I did a bunch of other stuff, and then you and I did a bunch of stuff, and then we did a
Actually, we
bunch of
did.
stuff.
We did a bunch of stuff that we can't talk about yet.
We did a bunch of stuff
Isn't that
that
nice?
were
And we're still not gonna talk about it now because we still can't talk about it. Isn't that
yeah, I was
awesome?
gonna say, we did a bunch of stuff that is setting us up for the bunch of stuff that people are gonna know that we did next week, and I got a bunch of things sorta out of the way at the end of this week, thinking that I was gonna get my booster and my flu shot today, so there's a very good chance that tomorrow and maybe the first day of the week, I'm gonna be a basket case. I may not, I don't know. I don't know what you guys if any of you guys have gotten boosters or experienced any of that stuff, but when I got my original shot, it was practically no big deal. When I got my second one, it seemed like it was no big deal, and then I was on my ass
See, I
for
was
the
flipped. Oddly enough,
following day.
I have the same as you. You're Moderna.
Yeah.
I'm Moderna. My first was the difficult one, and
Mm.
I'd been hearing the second one was the one that kind of kicked your butt, and so I actually made sure that the day after I had nothing booked, and it never came. I'm like, where is it? And I was fine. No aches
Yes,
and pains.
Jaden, I did any things, and so did Joe. Joe did any things too.
We all
We
did,
both
guys. We all did things. I'm sure, all of us, every last one of us. You bought a new ESP. Cool, man. What finish did you get? I wish you could post pictures in here. I want to see it. Is it a purdy color? And I
now
don't.
now I don't so, okay, so you went and bought pickups based on me saying they were doing cool things, and all I said was, "They seem to be doing cool things." That doesn't mean that I know what they're doing, but thank you for the thank you for the thought. I'm sure that they are cool, and some of the artists that we work with are pretty excited about those Fluence pickups. So, uh, I haven't stuck my nose in it personally myself because, I'm one of those guys that's way behind the curve when it comes to pickups. It took me
you
forever. One of my best friends is Rob Turner from EMG, and even knowing him for a long time and being drinking buddies and stuff, it still took me a good 5 years before I put EMGs in my guitar. But once I did that, it only took 2 days to get them out, you know?
Right. I have to say I'm the same. But it's like you and I have talked a lot about these things. I think not on the show, but just privately. And I have to say, like every piece of gear that I would say that when I had firsthand experience that I really didn't like, and I would say EMGs are in that category. I have heard other people make sound like God. So it's not that they stink, obviously.
No.
They just don't work for me. But
Here's
man,
why they don't
some
work for
people
me, because I'm a hard hitter, and those pickups are very sensitive, and they don't require you to lay in the guitar. In fact,
mm,
they work really well when you have a light pick attack.
mm.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate the sentiment. The Probably the thing that I was really most interested about in the booster was getting the chip. You know, because I was just
Your
curious.
phone isn't enough, huh?
Well, that was what I was thinking was like,
You wanna be in the
um,
lost pet
if you're
database?
worried about getting the chip injected into you, my response would be, it's actually convenient because y- instead of having a thing, instead of having to carry a thing around that tells the world where you are at any second, any time of the day or night, now you've got the chip to do that. So you don't need to lug this heavy thing around anymore. And
Totally,
I'm just like
totally.
thinking, all right, when are they going to they first of all, once they get the initial rollout sorted out, they're going to do like what we did. They're going to develop it and they're going to refine it, and pretty soon, you're not going to need glasses with
Well,
the Google glasses or anything like that. They'll just
I
be
am
making the
I was telling you earlier this week, I thoroughly expect to wind up with Alzheimer's or something like that. I'm gonna be walking down the road at some point, not knowing who the hell I am, and somebody's gonna wonder, let's scan this dude and find out where he belongs, so we can stick him back in his doghouse.
no,
Hell, Corbin.
I think ultimately the chip will that's how they will cure Alzheimer's is it will and the silicon chip inside her head flicks into overdrive. Tell me why I don't like Mondays. You know, they'll
Cor-
get all the bugs. They'll get all the bugs worked out of it.
Corbin
Cool.
caught my Charles DeMar reference, so I wish I could give you a virtual trophy of some sort.
Corbin, you look like
It's yeah, you got it.
fine
This
little
mountain is pure snow. You nailed it.
Okay. Well, it went right over my
Yeah,
pointy little head.
an '80s film called Better Off Dead.
Brandon. Pfizer is copying the Netflix business model. Fucking great.
Oh yeah.
All right, so here's to our friends in Austin, Texas, Guitar House on their 10th
I'm not drinking
anniversary.
what you're drinking, but fine. Cheers. Cheers
Um,
to all y'all out there in Malcontent land.
oh, you know what? The
Mm.
day that I got this and opened it up and tried it, I just like went, "Ah!" and I got the shakes and it burned all the way down.
I remember
And
you
now I'm
sent
not
me a
getting that.
text.
Maybe I was just doing it wrong, or the stars were misaligned or something. That's quite good. In fact, that text I sent you that I'm a whiskey pussy, that was
Mhm.
right after I had tasted that and it burned the shit out of my mouth. And now it's like beautiful. I don't know what happened. What happened?
I don't know how that works either. It happens to me too.
Oh, okay. It's not just me.
No, 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 no. And it can be the same expression, in the same week. You're like, I can't even handle this thing. And then a couple nights later, you'll touch it again and go, this is bliss. So I don't know. I don't know, man. All right. What do you want to rant about next? What's the next thing? Be a malcontent. Got something to
Well,
complain about? Get it off your chest.
well, I don't, I don't know. I saw a video on YouTube of a guy who's got tens of thousands of subscribers and viewers
Okay.
that is a self-proclaimed amp guru, repair guru.
Okay.
And he like made a 3 or 4 episode video. It's actually a couple of years old, but still of this repair of a Mesa amp that was kicking his ass. And he was going through all these things to try to solve the problem of the amp. And I'm watching it. And right at the very beginning of the video, he took 2 measurements. And I looked at that and I went, okay, so the power tubes are red plating, and and he's trying to find out why.
Okay.
And he took a measurement of the grid voltage, the grid bias voltage with the original tubes, and then another reading of the grid bias voltage with the new tubes.
Okay.
And in a Mesa amp, the bias is not adjustable. So, and he showed, I'm not naming any names. You
No,
can
no, no, no. You
speculate
can't.
all you
Yeah,
want.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yep.
And he was using 2 meters, and 1 meter was reading 15.5 volts, and the other meter was reading 16.5 volts. And I was looking at that going, that's not a difference in voltage. That's a difference in meter calibration, I'll bet. And so
Mm,
he's going on and trying a couple of different things. And he said, well, maybe I'll check this. And he takes one of the meters and then checks the voltage on both pairs, and the voltage is the same. So he goes, oh, this meter must need to be calculated or something. One was a good meter and one was a cheap meter. So I looked at that voltage and I went, I wonder how long it's going to take him to realize that he just needs to change the bias, because the previous tubes were Mesa branded tubes and those were Russian tubes. And the
okay.
new tubes were JJ's, and JJ's always draw a little bit more idle current out of the
Oh,
box
I didn't know
than
that.
Russian tubes. A lot of people don't, and this guy didn't either.
Okay.
Um, so I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, okay, so at some point in this video, he's going to go, let's go have a look at the bias voltage and
Yeah.
check the idle current. And he checked the idle current and correctly surmised that it was high.
Mm-hmm.
But then he went way off into the stratosphere. He bought another output transformer and replaced that. It didn't fix it. He tried changing capacitors in the phase inverter. That didn't fix it. He was checking all these resistors, just doing all this stuff. And he was like, I'm watching him. It's like it's like the store manager, and he's going around to every customer and grabbing them by the lapels and going, "Did you shoplift that popsicle? Did you steal that popsicle?" And the whole time that he's running around grabbing all these customers, there's a little kid right next to him holding the popsicle that he shoplifted, and he doesn't see it. And so he does all this stuff in all these episodes of this video, and then he ends up giving it back to the customer. I give up. It kicked me out.
Oh,
And I was like,
wah, wah.
if all you had done was just taken the voltage divider resistor in the bias circuit and changed it so that the grid bias went from 50 to 18, you'd be done and you'd be out of there. And
Oh,
he took the circuit board that supports the tube sockets out
oh man.
and mounted chassis mounted tube sockets in there and hardwired them because it must be something in the board. And his explanation for why he suspected the board, because the board was curved a little bit. And I'm going, "Ah!" I'm watching this. I'm screaming. I'm screaming inside. I'm not screaming verbally, but I'm screaming.
Yeah, yeah.
The top of my head is coming off. And I'm just like,
Occam's razor was not being utilized in
and
the
I just kept
solving.
waiting for the end of the video to come where he went like, you know what? I'm a dope. I should have just done this in the first place. And now the customer's happy and I'm done with it. I lost my
That would have
ass.
been a great video, actually.
Would have been a great
Watch
video,
me
but
go
no.
down the rabbit hole and
Yeah.
like finally
He-
pull my head out and
Yeah. He never
Oh,
climbed
wait.
out. He
Oh,
never
man,
climbed
that
out. He
sucks.
washed his hands of it. And I just like went, wow. And not to really point the finger directly at this guy, but this is just a classic symptom of now this guy had all this really bitchin' equipment.
Mm,
He had amp meters, voltmeters, he had all the stuff. He had all the tools of the trade and some of the best equipment, right? A
yeah.
nice clean work environment. He had everything there. But what he didn't have, he was not an amp talker. He did not have that ability to
Mm.
communicate with the exactly.
Are you coming through? Come through. Okay. You didn't unplug all my stuff. We're good.
And I see so much of this. And, I just like I just had one of these rant. I just went off. I just went off, and I just thought, and there's so much of that on the internet. There's so many of these guys that people just like lap it up because they got equipment, they got the stuff in there. One of the biggest things about working on gear is like have the absence of fear in opening stuff up. I mean, that's the key thing you got to have to be
Okay.
able to just like.
See, I started with that and then I got shocked a few times and I quit.
Well, no, that when you get after you get shocked once or twice, it's like going off the high dive once or twice. Then you're
Yeah,
like,
not for me.
oh, yeah. Well, there are people like that. I'm not one of
Yeah.
them. But uh, there's this old saying. I forget where I even picked it up, but I heard a line from a guy with a German accent that went something like, if you are going to work with a machine, you must not be afraid of the machine.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I heard that when I was probably 10 or something like that. And
That's great.
I've carried that with me ever since. So I mean,
Yeah.
these guys they have the ability to get past that threshold and get in there.
Mm-hmm.
But man,
Do you did you ever see that documentary, Free Solo with Alex Hanold, I think his name is? So this is a guy who, climbed the sheer rock face with no ropes. Just like, how do you do that? And during this documentary, they're actually scanning his brain to see if it's different, and it is indeed different. And I forget the actual It's probably something to do with the amygdala, but, like, yeah, he does not sense danger in the same way that you or I do.
Mm,
His brain just doesn't work that way, and that's interesting, because I remember, I had a PV, rack power amp, and I was digging around inside of it, and I was sitting cross-legged on the floor, had the power amp in my lap, stuck my screwdriver, or whatever, and I hit it, and it lifted me off the floor, like,
mhm.
boom. And I remember kinda like I didn't pass out, but, like, my consciousness was jolted, and it was like it felt like something had happened. And I remember I just, like, put the top back on,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
screwed
you always
back
hear
in.
stories about people
"Here,
saying
Steve,
yeah, yeah. You always hear people saying
your job."
things like, "Be really careful. There's enough voltage in there to throw you across the room." And I'm like going, "Yeah, that's an exaggeration. Yeah, you'll get a shock, and it'll be shock is the word for it because
I levitated, man.
it's a surprise." But I did on one occasion literally get thrown across the room,
Okay,
and
alright.
to the extent that I banged up against my toolbox and collapsed on the floor, and when I looked up, I was looking at my workbench, which was out in front of me,
Wow.
and so I was on the floor. It was behind me, there's a red toolbox back there.
Yeah,
So in this other shop, the toolbox was behind me and my workbench was here in front of me,
yeah.
and I got an electric shock, a bad one, and it threw me backwards against that toolbox, and I kind of landed on my butt on the floor in a daze. But I looked forward at my workbench, and
Uh-huh.
what I saw was this. I saw the back of me getting the shit shocked out of me, and I had an out of body experience.
That is Hey, do you remember what you were working on?
Yeah, I was working on a 292 power amp,
Ah,
and uh, it had
wow.
one of my test leads was going defective, and it touched a voltage, and then when I went to grab that test lead, I had 700 volts going from here to here,
Oh,
and it normally when I get a shock, I do this with my hands, and I pull back a little bit to
yes.
let go, sort of like an automatic reaction,
Yeah.
but the leads had burned into my skin, so when I
Oh
went
my
like
god.
this, they didn't shake loose. So, what I saw from behind me was me going like this. I was trying to shake those leads loose, and I finally shook one loose and broke the circuit,
Wow.
and it was I still have little scars on it. That was like 20 years ago or so, 25, and,
Okay, what did you do in the moments after that happened?
I rolled back over, off of my butt onto my hands and knees
Okay.
and just shook my head, shook it off, and couple of people ran into my office and said, Are you okay?" Which
Right.
whenever something catastrophic happens and somebody comes and asks you if you're okay, my first reaction is to look at them like, "I practically died. Could you just do me a favor and not ask the stupidest fucking question in creation, please? Thank you very
Yeah.
much."
Yeah. Yeah.
I just I had enough presence of mind to still be sarcastic and pissed off. But,
Uh,
uh, that that, Um, a similar thing had happened to me when I was about 9 or 10, where I got a really bad shock and I was in my bedroom. And I came my bedroom was upstairs of the house. So I walked down the stairs and went into the family room where my parents were watching TV, and I sat and watched TV with my parents. And then when they decided to go to bed and they said, "Are you going to come up and go to bed?" And I said, "No, I'm going to sleep here on the couch tonight. I'm going to watch monster movies." And they
uh-huh.
went, "Okay." They didn't think anything of it. I didn't say I'm scared shitless to go to my bedroom because the ghost of me is still up there looking
Oh,
for a
that's
spot,
interesting. So
I
you
was
didn't tell him?
I didn't tell them. I No, no, no. If I told them, then it would be like, "Okay, you're done playing with all that dangerous stuff."
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hell
When I
no.
was 8 years old, I had a metal dog collar, I don't know, I found it around the
Mhm.
house. And I thought, oh, I'm going to play prisoner or something. So I put it around my wrist, and then I'm like, and there's, at the end of this metal chain, there's a larger link. And I'm like, this needs to like be connected to something. So I'm chained to a wall. Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll grab my nightlight, I'll unplug it, I'll put the chain link around the two prongs, and then I'll plug it into the wall. And so I plug it into the wall, sparks go everywhere. And this was at night, the entire house, no light. And I just hear everybody, what happened? And I'm like, oh no, I did that. And I'm still like, stuck in this thing. And then I try and pull it out of the wall, and it had fused to
Mhm.
the plug.
Mm.
And I guess, like, I don't know how I escaped death that evening, but I did.
That's really interesting. Guy, just a just a week or so ago, a guy in Hong Kong bought a PS2.
Okay.
Um, he bought it off of
Good decision.
he bought it off of eBay from a US seller, which means he bought a 120-volt unit. And so the tech support email went, I bought a power station, and he didn't flesh it out where he had gotten it. He says, "I got a power station too. Um, it looks fine, and it didn't get damaged in shipping, but when I plugged it in, it made this horrendous noise,
Yeah.
this grinding metal noise." I'm like, "Grinding metal noise?" We're like having this conversation
The
with
fan?
with Dave and Paul, and I mean, we have a couple of different people doing tech support and on different levels. Some guys handle the rudimentary questions, and somebody else handles the more technical stuff. And the really bizarre stuff comes to me like, "Can you figure this out?" And I'm like, "What?" So more questions and more questions, and then after that, no, no, I don't think. After a few of those, it was like, "Well, I bought it from a guy in the US, and I'm in Hong Kong, so our voltage is 230 here. Do you think that might have anything to do with it?" And we're like, "And you're plugging it into your wall outlet without a step-up transformer or anything like that?" And he's like, "Yeah, do I need one of those?" And I'm like, "Oh." He was plugging a 120-volt unit into 230 and kept turning the power switch on and off and trying to make that noise go away. And I said, "No, the way you make that noise go away is that you stop doing that. Doctor, when I bend my arm like this, my elbow hurts. Stop doing that."
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god. And so after we sort of like, this is the thing with customer support questions is, uh we don't get the people that contact us. They think that we're shamans. That
Mm.
when we get an email from them and they say, "It's making a noise, what do I do?" They're thinking that we
Like, you just
are going out into
idiot.
the stratosphere and extracting all the detail that we need to answer their question out of the ether and then giving it back to them. No, we don't have that power.
Mhm.
So there is an auto reply that says, "If you're asking a technical question or have a technical problem, give us everything. Like what you're using it with, blah blah blah." We've talked about this before. Give us everything. Give
Yeah.
us the whole story.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the first email goes like, "Give us as much information as you can." Well, it's a tube amp I'm using it with. And then another email, no, the whole story: amp, cab, speaker, cab, any pedals, power supply, anything. Yeah, I'm using a cab with it. Some people, you just have to reach down in their gullet and drag it out against their will till you
Yeah.
finally get enough data to be able to understand their problem and then answer their question. Uh,
Right.
this- So this guy was like, we finally got that far,
Mhm.
and he's like, "Okay, great. Got it. So what I need to do is I need to get a transformer or maybe have this thing rewired." "No, you can't get it rewired. You have to replace the transformer." "Okay, well, I'll worry about that later. Right now, I've got a step up transformer. I'll try that." Okay, I tried that, and that horrible grinding thing isn't there anymore, but it doesn't make any sound either. Well, you tried it 4 or 5 times at the
Yeah.
wrong voltage. You probably blew the rectifiers, the filter caps, the blah, blah, the internal fuse. Oh, so do you think I might need to take it to a shop? Well, or you could ship it from Hong Kong to here. And he says,
Scott, you're killing me.
well, trademark. Well, he says, "You know what? I think probably what I'll do is I'll just return it. I'll just file an eBay case and return it to the seller as defective." You
Oh, you.
broke it. You can't do that. It's not his fault. You're gonna make eBay go bend him over a rail over your stupidity? I didn't say that, but I wanted
Wow.
to. Come on.
That's a rat fake.
This is on you. You don't get to hand it back to the seller. That's like
Right.
way uncool. But we don't have any control over that. We just like made it known that that's like not actually the ethical way to handle this. Have your tech, find a tech in your neighborhood, have him contact us. We'll step you through it. Blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah. He goes, okay. But uh
Wow.
the
I'm
thing
actually
what Misopal brought something. Let me just
uh-huh.
Misopal mentioned something about the the story with the electrical shock of the 292 getting thrown.
Yeah.
For a couple of months before that, I'd had this really stiff shoulder issue where I couldn't raise my hand any higher than this. If I tried to go up like this, it just hurt like hell.
Okay.
And I was getting ready to go make a doctor's appointment to get x-rays and blah blah blah. And um the day that shock happened, we closed. I left early. I don't remember if we closed the factory or if I just left early or something. Um, but I went home and went to bed. And the next morning I woke up and went, took a shower, and I took my bath towel and I'm going like this. And I just like went, what? And my shoulder hasn't bothered me for 25 years since then. So if you ever, uh, feel like you might be getting arthritis or something like that, and like you want to try a sort of an experimental way to fix this, I will disavow it if you try it, but it worked great for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, put that in your marketing material.
Yeah,
Here's how
well,
you do it.
don't send your lawyers to me if you try this and you get thrown down and it doesn't fix your arthritis. I will disavow all knowledge of this conversation, even though
It's
it's
live now.
it's live and committed to tape. I'm screwed. But don't do that. Don't do that. I'm just saying, it worked for me. So does this. Actually, this is working for me too.
Oh, yeah. Uh, yeah, Kelly. Yeah, I don't know that. Yeah, I remember, the couple times I've really been zapped, it hurts, and oddly, it's like sore at the ends of my fingers. It's like it feels like it shoots all this blood into my extremities, and all of a sudden, my fingertips ache. I remember that kind of feeling, but I don't mess with that stuff anymore. Steve, help! You do it.
So tell me, Joe, besides what we've been working on, if you had, how was your last 2 weeks? Anything interesting?
Yes, but nothing I can mention on live broadcast in the public domain.
Why not? I just threw down.
Oh yeah, that's right. You almost died several times. Out of body experience. Um, let me see if there's. I don't think there's anything like honestly interesting to talk about. Just more work than I can handle. I'm looking at my dog right now. Oh, this is some good news because we talk pets on this show. I think I mentioned a couple months ago that my dog was going to have ACL surgery, and he did. And just yesterday, he got his kind of his checkup X-ray done, and he's all healed, and he's ready to rock. So he can play with other dogs and do all the
Awesome. That's great.
fun reindeer games and stuff. So yeah, that's pretty good.
Very cool.
Um,
Scott, 2 things. 1, um, 'kay, I'm gonna just say this every show. There's 2 T's in Pitbull. There's and this is a thing that's really easy. They'll really help you remember this stuff. There are 2 T's in Pitbull and 2 E's in Fryette, okay? I don't know where the extra E in Fryette keeps popping up, but it's getting more frequent. So,
this is
2 T's in
fancy.
Pitbull, 2 E's in Fryette, and the first one you use there is not one of them. And now, in the last show, somebody mentioned something about, "What about those VHT pedals?" And I don't know what you're talking about because VHT, when it was our brand before we sold the name, we never made any pedals. And now Scott is asking about the THD pedals I keep seeing. And I don't know what that's about either because THD isn't even really around anymore. So if you're reiterating the question about VHT pedals, that's the company in China that bought the name that is just making all their stuff in China at a really low price. Or either that or Scott, you're not that dumb. So I think that you put the E in my name, extra E in there on purpose and said THD on purpose as you're jerking my chain. You're doing this on purpose. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, he said, oops, sorry. No, come on. I gave you a lot more credit for intelligence than that.
Just Scott, just claim drunkardness. That's what I'm gonna do.
No, you should have just rolled with it and said, "Yeah, I'm just fucking with you," and then you would have been totally off the hook. So,
Well, I just like to, claim the truth. Like, no, I am that dumb. I'm proud.
I can relate. So am I. So am I. Uh, the valvulator. Which valvulator? Okay, there's 3
Probably the
valvulators.
first one. Probably
The,
the
the
or the power conditioner one, the pedal, the kind of
okay, don't
the
go putting out information in that it doesn't exist. Power conditioner. What are you talking about?
well, I'm
Okay, I know
getting
what you're
there.
talking
You know
about.
what
Let's
I'm
straighten it all out. The
just
valvulator
see, I
one.
told you. I'm not
The
that smart.
valvulator one is the buffer with the power supply. The valvulator GP3 is the first 3-channel 2-space rack mount preamp that we made, and the valvulator GP3, GPDI, I mean, is the 1-watt desktop amp. And so, you're a good man, Scott. So, Lefty, which valvulator are you asking about? And then we'll answer your question. Uh, Power shampoo, yeah, baby.
The GPDI.
GPDI. Uh, Coming out, the new version will be out. We had not made that for a while because we're remaking it, and the new version of it will be out end of this year, beginning of next. Um, we're just completing some of the design parameters of it, and then away we'll go. No changes in sound, just added features and a little simpler operation. Okay.
Let me say
Somebody
real fast, Steve, to some people who are hanging out and showing up. Paige is showing up tonight, guys.
Eight
Promise.
o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Just
roughly
in case you
15
showed up
minutes.
and you're like, who are these dorks? Where's
Yeah.
Paige?
Yeah.
He's on his way.
I'm here for Paige, damn it. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
he'll be here for you too.
Yeah.
Just hang in there. Paige is in the middle of a recording project. He agreed to do the show. I gave him I sent him the invitation, gave him the day and the time, and he said, "Okay, I'm in." And then when I went back to him to confirm, he went, "Yeah, it's confirmed as long as it's before 4:30 and after 8 o'clock." And I said, "The show, like I said, is starts at 7." And he's like, "Oh, what should I do?" I said, "Well, are you? Can you be here at 8?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, no problem." I said, "Okay, we'll bring you on at 8." He says, "Okay, we're locked."
His
So
team's been promoting it too. Super cool.
yeah,
Cool, cool, cool,
yeah.
cool.
Give me guy who do big riff. Yeah,
Totally.
everyone. And I have the vision of the Indian, the cartoon, the bucolic buffalo. Give me guy who do big riff.
I love that, man.
Bucolic.
Okay, let's see.
There was a guy that asked that made a comment, I think on from the previous show.
Mhm.
This is like, I feel sorry for you. You've got all these things in your head. You can't decide if you're Steve 1 or Steve 2 or blah blah blah. don't anybody feel sorry for me about that. Hey, it's just like the keyboard player I used to work with. Whenever I would bitch about something, he would just look at me and go, "Dude, it's life you've chosen. All right, get you deal with it." And
Right.
away he would walk. And I used to think, "What a dick!" And no, he's absolutely right.
Yeah.
I
He's screwing your head on right.
I choose this.
Mhm. Mhm.
I have this side of my brain that wants to do this, and this side of my brain and that wants to do this, and whichever side is um, paying the bills and feeding the kids is the side that gets the most attention. And um, the the music guy side is the guy that breaks away and wraps his head around music to stay connected, to stay refreshed, to stay plugged in, as it were, and all of that kind of stuff. And they coexist happily, if not maybe with a little bit of uh, angst and some conflict once in a while. That's okay. I love that. That's what I do. So I fully embrace and own that, and I don't feel bad about it. And thank you for your concerns and your kind comment. I'm doing just fine. Thank you very much. Now I'm just gonna go smash my head against a brick wall.
Hey, Wayne, our buddy Wayne mentioned something cool up here. He was talking about, was it a, I don't know, was it a Premier Guitar thing, Wayne? Like looking at their, what do they call it, the rig rundown, where one of the guitarists from Opeth was showing his Synergy rig, and two of the four modules were fret. So that's pretty groovy. So do you know anything about that? Obviously, it would be the Ultra Lead and the Deliverance modules.
Do I know about
And
that?
then because those are the amplifiers that they've used, right? The actual amps.
I don't know that Opeth ever used our stuff.
Oh, really? I thought
Yeah,
we even talked about it on the show.
uh,
Or somebody had brought it up in the comments,
maybe
maybe.
maybe somebody else is more aware of it than I am.
Okay.
I will admit that I'm not as on top of who uses all of our stuff as other people. I'm not a marketing guy. I'm not an advertising guy. I'm not an artist relations guy. I do have relations, close personal relationships with people like David Torn and Paige Hamilton and Stephen Carpenter and a lot of these guys. I don't necessarily always know what they're using. And guitar players like you and like me and like Joe, we pick up and play what we are inclined to pick up and play at any given moment, and it isn't always necessarily the same thing. Um, Torn and Paige Hamilton are kind of unique in with respect to the fact that they've sort of glommed onto that this is the machinery that helps make their machinery work, and
Mhm.
it's not even about loyalty. I mean, if Paige found something that just lit his fire so bad that it made him forget about the ultra lead, he would probably move on and say,
That's
"This
what
is
you
my
should
new
do.
universe."
Yeah.
But but he is locked into that. He's really locked into it. He knows it inside and out, knows exactly what to do with it, and then he embellishes it with all the things that he embellishes it with. And frankly, when we first started working together, he was looking not for a bitchin' new tone. He wasn't looking for that. He was looking for a solution to his reliability problem, a solution to his consistency problem. Whenever they went out to gig, things would change. Things would break after sound
What
checks.
was he
Things
using at the time? Do
he
you
was
remember?
using he used a bunch of different things. He used Mesa amps, he used a rectifier at one point, he
Mm.
used a Harry Colby preamp and some, Mesa power amp, and then
I
he
was gonna
switched
ask,
gears
was it heads or was it kinda rack
a
D?
variety of things.
Okay.
A variety of things. He wasn't really married to any particular thing. He was looking for what works, what gives me the sound I want, what gives me what I need when I
And
need
what'll
it,
get me through the damn gig?
and get me through the damn gig. And, um, and Torn is the same way. Once he Once he found this is the thing that no matter where I morph into, I always find myself comfortable landing back here. And that to me is astonishing that they have stuck with it that long and that consistently and still if I haven't heard from David Torn for 6 months, and that happens frequently, and then I'll send him a text and hey, how you doing? Everything okay? And then he doesn't necessarily respond, I'm okay. What he does is he emails me a link to a video that he just did that's like, just as phenomenal as the last other five that he did, if not more so. And there's the amp in the background, and he doesn't say, "Yeah, I'm still using it." He doesn't have to
Yeah,
say it.
but did I tell you? I think I might have mentioned it on the show that the the NAMM show that he came out for was when you brought the Sound City 50. You had that in the booth. And David had some pedals set up. It wasn't his rig, but he brought, a skeleton crew of pedals, and he was in there, throwing down. I remember he looked at me and he says, "You know, I think Steve might be upset if I tell him, that I'm gonna change my endorsement affiliation."
Yeah, he was saying that partly in jest, but I mean, like with Stephen
Well, to the
Carpenter.
Sound City, to the amp that you just built.
Yeah, yeah, but like Stephen Carpenter, he morphs into he goes in cycles and he morphs into stuff. And so his tech comes to me and like, "Hey, we need this, and we need this, and we need this." And we like, "Oh, okay." And we do all this work and we get them everything that they needed, and then they disappear. And then the next time I see a video of him months later, he's using something entirely different. And I'm like going, all right, we kicked ass and we did everything that he asked for, and now he's on to other territory, and like, okay, that's just the way it goes sometimes. And then 6 months later, the tech is like, check this out, and he sends me 6 links of Stephen Carpenter videos where he's using all the stuff that we had previously. So he goes in these cycles.
Yeah.
He goes into, and I do it. I just happen to use all of the gear that we make when I go through those cycles, partly because they're all slightly different levels of tools, but they are tools and they do
Hey,
slightly different things. And so I morph around those kinds of things too. It's just they just all happen to have the same brand name on it because I'm not looking for anything else sonically. I'm just looking for maybe a different way to use the pieces together, or I'm
yeah,
trying some new different kind of music that I was focused on 2 or 3 months ago or so. And that's what all these guys are doing. So I don't
yeah,
really take it personally that they shapeshift from time to time. Everybody does that. That's what you do
totally.
with music.
Hey, Michael, I have a 68 Super Reverb that I use with the PS 100, and thanks to Steve and for chiming in with answers there. Um, those
Well,
switches on the back are super handy.
here's the techie nerdy answer
Yeah,
to that
do that.
question. Think about it. 2 ohms. The average test meter that has each test lead is a meter long, so 3 feet or so. When you touch them together, uh, just to check continuity, the meter will read about a half an ohm. That's how much DC resistance is just in the test leads alone, half an ohm. Now think your amp is 2 ohms. So if you're measuring the DC resistance of that, half an ohm of it is just going to be the DC resistance of your test meter leads.
Yeah.
So the point is 2 ohms is so close to a dead short, it's not even funny.
Mm,
So when you're down into the 2 ohm range, this is where you really have to stop thinking about ohms in terms of what are these numbers of ohms doing, because it's nominal impedance. uh, the 2 to 4 ohm range that you're experiencing is only that impedance at a specific frequency,
hmm.
for a specific amount of time, and dependent on how long your speaker cables are, and so on. So the more you go up into the range of like 16 ohms, the more the wire resistance between the amp and the speakers uh, disappears. The lower the speaker load impedance goes, the more the leads between the amp and the speaker um, become a factor, because you're getting closer and closer and closer to 0 ohms, a dead short. So, but that's only, again, at a specific frequency. Looking at these impedance charts and frequency response charts, what you see is how the frequency changes, how the impedance changes with frequency. So when a manufacturer says the amp is 8 ohms and the speaker is 8 ohms, what they're saying is 8 ohms of impedance, not DC resistance. So, and at a specific test frequency and at a specific test amplitude, usually a watt. Okay. So now factor in a little bit of tolerance, call it 5%. Well, when it's 2 ohms and it's 5%, what do you got? Another half an ohm, right? So, um, generally, the DC resistance of the 2 to 4 ohm range on the power station is 3, because most of the time,
It's always the magic
all
number.
all the guitar frequencies combined that you're using kind of put it nominally in the 2.5 to 3.5 ohm range, whether
Mhm.
it's 2 ohms or 4 ohms.
Okay.
And then when usually the 2 ohm amps have 4 speakers in them. So now what you're doing, it's not a single speaker that's 2 ohms, it's 4 speakers, 4 8 ohm speakers in parallel. Divided
Mm.
by divided by 4 is 2.
Mhm.
So each of those speakers is behaving slightly differently. So that nominal impedance varies with the group of 4 speakers.
Mhm.
And so it's even less accurate to say that that 2 ohm load in that amp is really, it has to be specifically adhered to. There's some play in there, and that's why the 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 lowest impedance setting on the back of the power station says 2/4, because it puts you right in that range where it needs to be, where the amp will put out the right amount of power, behave the way it does when you crank it a little bit into its sweet spot, and not cause any damage to the tubes or any other component in the amplifier or the power station. So that's why it's okay to do that. The other thing is that we're going to be talking about in the next show for various reasons is that the any impedance mismatch between a guitar amp and a guitar speaker cabinet is okay up to a reasonable level. When you start cranking the amp really, really to its maximum, that's when it becomes a problem. But hardly
Mm.
anybody ever does that. You're
Uh-huh.
usually just, I just want to turn the amp up loud enough to where it sounds good to me, but then get the volume down to where I can actually play it. And that is usually well inside the operating tolerances of the tubes and the resistors and the capacitors and the transformers and all that. So that the likelihood that you're going to blow something under those circumstances is practically zero. All right.
That's some good damn answership, Captain.
Sorry. Hmm. Well, it has to be restated over and over again, because in the in the forum sphere, there's always, I hesitate to use this term, but for the N word, not that N word, but the other N word, referring to the Germany in the 30s and 40s. The people that insist that you have to like adhere to, we're always on about the dogmatic approach that it must be this
Orthodoxy.
way, it must be done this way, and
Yeah, 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 yeah.
there is no must. Tell Jimi Hendrix that it must be this way or that way, and see how far it gets you.
Well, you know, if you're armed with a touring circuit, I mean, anything's
Mm.
possible. Don't
How
laugh.
did I know that that was going to be?
It's I'm always waiting to drop that one in the punch
Yeah,
bowl.
literally in the punch bowl.
Oh, you're gonna convert it into a head, dude. Oh, sorry. I love a super reverb, and I love a super reverb for its unique, the cabinet, the open back thing, and all that dimension, and how it fills out a room, and all that kind of stuff.
There's your
But you do
question.
you, man.
What trick did Fender use for the Blackface Silver Deluxe reverbs, where they were running the plates at a much higher voltage than the 6V6 GT is supposed to handle? Um, Okay. Um, the magic trick is that there's no magic trick. It's
Knew you
just
were
like
gonna
the
say that.
impedance thing. There isn't a single optimum point. Tubes operate within a parameter of voltages under under certain current and load resistance conditions. And when you put all those together in a graph, it creates what is called a load line. And that is the range, the optimum range within which those tubes are are sort of designed to perform optimally. Well, it's the design engineer that decides which parameters are the optimum parameters for their specific application. Everybody doesn't look at the tube chart and go, "You got to put the plate voltage right here and the current right here and the impedance right there." No, it's a curve. It's not a point. It's not a fixed point. It's a line,
Uh,
and that line is got gradations based on the various operating parameters. And so there's no magic. It's just knowing where the boundaries are, and say, well, I'm going to stay within this part of the boundary line, and other amp designers going to go, well, we're going to operate it over here, and a hi-fi designer guy, well, I want linearity and low distortion. The guitar amp guy is going, I'm not so concerned about linearity. I'm concerned
right.
about the right kind of harmonics distortion. I want second order harmonic distortion here and here and here.
Mhm.
And if you look at a load line and you look at curves for the two, and then you do a frequency analysis, you see harmonics poking up along the bandwidth of the amplifier, and you can design to minimize those harmonic artifacts, or you can enhance them. It just really depends on what you want the amplifier to do.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's no one right way to do any of those things. Do we have anybody trying to poke into the green room yet?
We do not.
All right.
We do not. So we're gonna continue to, kill time.
Okay. I'm just
Oh,
gonna send a little note that um,
Eric, I'm not I'm just Steve's bud, but I'll answer that question. The dumb answer, yes, huge. But Steve can go into it more. Supply chain issues is still an issue, um, with almost everything, right? I mean, the PLIR I know is a victim of that.
okay, I just sent
You
Paige
see,
a little ping. What did you
cool.
what are we
You
talking
see
about?
Eric's
Behind each
question
other
here.
poking
I popped it up.
um yeah, well, the supply chain, of course, is not a
Do,
singular entity.
do you have any new fun tales from the past 2 weeks? Supply
Mm,
chain tales.
no, no, there is no there is no single supply chain.
Hmm.
Of there are hundreds of think of okay,
Just say yes.
Paige is asking if there's a Zoom link. So,
I emailed him.
uh, Joe emailed you, use the StreamYard link.
This is how the sausage is made.
Go there. Go there. Go there. Go there. Go there. I don't want to go. Yes, you got to go there. Um, Resend it to him just in case, because I know the next response is, "Can you resend it to me?" And then that's what rock and roll is about, dude. We buy parts from all over the world, and for various places in Asia, in Germany, in the UK, in Yugoslavia, in you name it. Parts come from all over the world through different channels. Some things get shipped across the Atlantic Ocean and then go overland, to LA from the East Coast Harbor. And some things come across the Pacific Ocean, and some things come from the Midwest. Some things come from there's stuff comes from everywhere. So of course, just like there's nothing that insulates us from the whole rest of the world in terms of supply chain. Uh, and we use all kinds of parts. We use resistors, we use capacitors, we use transformers, we use circuit boards, we use sheet metal, and we use microprocessors and transistors and ICs and everything. So um, we're just as at the mercy of the slew of supply chain issues as anybody else. And the trick is to
Oh, we have an interloper.
all right. The
Getting
trick is
ready
to
to
the trick is the trick is to just take a deep breath and deal with it, and that's what we do. Right. Um, so it looks like we might have somebody ready to take the plunge with us.
You ready?
So,
You ready? You
um,
ready? You ready?
so without further ado, as they say, a great chap, a good friend, a great human being, a longtime Fryette and VHT supporter and user, an excellent musician, a brilliant songwriter, and a workaholic, and goddamn handsome too, Mr. Page Hamilton.
Black screen. This is interesting because
Looks like he froze. Did he freeze?
yeah, I think so. Well, it's gonna happen. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Something is happening.
Dun, 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 dun.
Okay, now what?
Dun, 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 dun. There he is.
Why does it sound so bad? It's all freezy and.
Do you have good bandwidth at your location?
Huh?
Do you have good bandwidth at your location?
Yep, I got 400 megabytes per second. Fucking way overpriced. Yeah, for an extra $40, you can get even shittier service. Maybe if I thought, yeah, I'll buy it so I can stream.
You get a bonus scoop.
Welcome, my brother.
Great.
Oh man, the connection is all freezy.
Yeah, hang on. Maybe my phone.
Yeah, you might want to turn that off. I texted you to confirm that you knew where to go.
Hang on.
Well, while you're working on that,
I'm going to try it on my phone.
Okay. All right.
All right. So to answer, still YDGN71.
There, Joe. Let me try it on my phone.
We're sending.
Okay, allow my. Okay, I'm gonna.
We're sending PS 100s like every other week. A lot of them. So yeah, you'll get it eventually, sooner than later. Actually.
Allow.
Hello.
Oh wait. Oh, this is the best.
Okay, that looks better. Oh, it did look better for a second. There we go. Yep.
Okay.
Hey, let me turn the speaker up. Whoops.
Yeah, turn the speaker.
Open my credit cards. Hang on.
Yeah.
Dumbass. Okay, how's that?
And now, as soon as we just need to be able to hear you, and then we're great. And I can just barely hear you.
Turn on my speaker up. you barely hear me?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, we need more
Why is it so
William.
small?
You've got the quietness.
Huh. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a phone thing. Hang on, cam mic. Let me see if I can get my mic turned up. Audio. Hey, check. Dick.
See?
Testes. Dick. Echo cancellation. Automatic volume adjust. No, I don't want automatic volume adjust. Just want it to be. Okay, how's that?
It's the same.
Oh,
Yeah.
here we go. Hang on. How's that?
That's
better?
getting better.
Okay, I got the mic max.
Mm.
How's that?
It's still pretty crappy.
Yeah, your
Huh.
other method was, at least the level was way better.
On the iPad?
Yeah.
Okay. Weird. Hang on.
But your overall, like your video connection with this method is a lot better.
Right. Okay. Hang on.
Let's see.
Five
While
G.
you're doing that, Paige, I'm going to answer a couple of tech questions here to the guys that are on the stream. Ken, a milliamp is being excessively OCD. Just figure plus and minus 5%, and you're good to go. You're probably, 3 to 5 milliamps is just fine. It's probably way more accurate than anything in the amp is doing. Yeah, don't let yourself get stuck in that thing where people are like trying to take it way over the edge. It's not an $8,000 hi-fi monoblock. It's a guitar amp.
Yeah.
And the more you try to perfect it, the less it sounds like a guitar amp. So yeah, don't lose too much sleep over that. I'm honestly happy with 10%, and I'll tell you why. You're not running it at 100% all the time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these specifications that you see on the internet, you got to just remember this. When you're running everything at its maximum capacity, then maybe you got to worry about stuff like that, but you're not. You're usually running them way, way inside their maximum tolerances. And so you don't need to lose sleep over that. Okay. Cool. Well, you look awesome, dude.
Yeah, it's still freezy. The video's still freezy.
You're in the show.
Yeah. It's interesting that there's no splitting the difference between the two devices.
Yeah, same over here. I never had this problem with my lessons, and I got.
Like you keep expecting it's gonna unfreeze. We're gonna work.
This is waste of $1,000. How's that? Can you hear me?
You're super glitchy. It's like the connection's funky.
Yeah, it's not me. I have 400 millibytes per second. It's the app, I think, because I use Skype and I use Zoom, and I always have no problem, Edward. It's like maybe it's this app. Maybe my iPad is. How's that? I can. Wait.
That's good.
I think we're settling in.
Getting a
Yeah,
little.
just make sure you don't have any other devices using your internet connection for a while, because this probably uses a little bit more bandwidth than your average. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we can attempt a conversation. We'll see how it goes.
Hey, Carlos, we'll get to that in the next show. We've got some fun stuff to play with, and we can talk about that.
Okay.
Paige, welcome. How you doing?
I'm all right. How are you guys?
Great.
Pretty fancy. Steve was saying that you're not only the biggest Pitbull user, but you're also the tallest.
And
that
then
true?
I had to refine that and say you're consistently the tallest, because for a while, uh, Mick 7 from Slipknot eclipsed you in the tallness category, but he's not a
Really?
consistent. He's not a. I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
Wait
He's
a
pretty
minute.
tall, but maybe it's the Frankenstein boots that make him taller than he really is.
I can't remember.
So
I can't remember. We played against that. We played with them in Dublin.
the truth slips
Sorry,
out.
I'm in college football. My Ducks. We had Husky Hate Week this week, where Oregon plays Washington, and we say "fuck the Huskies" or "huck the Fuskies." That counts on your show.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so huck the Fuskies. So my sister and brother-in-law actually flew out for the game. So I'm in this game mode. We played against them. Yeah. But yeah, it's good. Hang on. I should have the speaker would be better.
This is on the fly.
See if I can turn this off and if it helps.
Wait. It sounded like something shifted, man.
Wait. Okay. I just turned off and I had the TV on over there, so maybe.
Oh, good. Yeah, great. Yeah, so that's a lot better.
Wow.
Weird.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
We're
So
talking college football. That's what we brought you on for.
actually, we were talking about height, and did you play any gigs with Slipknot so that you can dispel the rumor of who's taller, you or Mick 7?
I don't remember, because we said hey, and but we didn't really hang out. She said hey, they're really nice, and those rubber masks smell really vile. And they're all sweaty in those rubber masks. I'm gonna turn this off. If I turn the computer off too over here.
Yeah.
Hang on. Just thing. Yeah, it was, and I watched the show from the balcony of the venue, and I couldn't make out. I don't think he was using Fryettes, but maybe he was. Well, they were in Europe, so.
How long ago was that?
Gosh, 10 years ago.
Yeah, he had moved on about that time. But what about Aaron Turner? Are you familiar with Aaron from ISIS, Old Man Gloom?
I know ISIS.
Are you taller than Aaron?
Oh gosh, I couldn't say. I don't know. I'm taller than you. I'm taller than Erico.
That's easy to do.
I'm taller than all.
Now you're going for the low-hanging fruit.
Well,
Kelly goes on Google and he says Mick Thompson is 6'4". Okay,
that's what I was going to say. We got our research department on the gig. Thanks, Kelly.
Who is that guy? That's the guy.
Mick Thompson. That's Mick 7.
Okay.
So how tall are you?
6'3".
All right.
Oh.
Then you're going to have to we're going to have to relegate you to the most consistently taller, bigger pit bull user. Not necessarily
1A and 1B. Slight tiering.
Is that the kind of information you can get on the interweb? You punch your
apparently.
height. Really useful.
Yeah. Favorite color.
Well, I will say it sounds different up here, So
okay, we're getting great questions now.
I put my half stack up on my road case, and it works great.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, there's a good reason. There's a good reason that sounds great, and that's because you're decoupling the low end from the floor.
Yeah, right. But that's kind of drastic when you first start doing that. You're like, where the hell did all the low end go? Like, because that low end can be really reassuring. And when
we got with a kick drum and a bass player, we get enough of that. So,
but you're running in-ears.
I'm running
right
in-ears, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
stage volume is already a way different proposition than it was 20 years ago.
I still play loud because it's, you know, because as you guys know, it affects the sound. You know, playing quiet is no fun. I mean, if you're playing a jazz gig, you know, that's one thing. But if you're playing our music, you know, you need the volume because part of the interaction between the amp and the, you know, the cab, the head, and Steve has seen me abuse my amp. So we pulled our gear out for these shows we were going to do that got postponed with System of a Down over at this football stadium over here. And I was like, God, I didn't realize my gear was so damn beat up. My cabinets look like they're just,
They look great.
you know, I rub them and hump them and jab the guitar into them and just to get cool, anything to get cool sounds, you know. So
that's what they were designed to do.
Yeah, they are equipped to withstand the abuse. So,
but now
But, you
they're
know,
naturally relict.
I've been to a lot of your gigs, and I got to say, you're not on stage. You're not the loudest guitar player I've ever heard. Out on the front of house, it's
Yeah.
hammering, which is great.
yeah,
But on
yeah,
stage, it sounds like normal to me. It doesn't sound like it doesn't sound punishing at all. It just
I'm
sounds like,
not.
oh,
Yeah, I mean, Rubes, our sound man, is always asking us to turn down. He's like,
Ah,
guys, I'll have more control. It'll sound better if you turn down a little bit. And I'm like, oh. But I mean, the fact that I sing too, you know, I need balance. So I get enough
yeah,
volume to, but my master's only like, what's that? Let's see, where's the clock? 12, 1, 2, maybe 2 o'clock, 2,
okay.
you
yeah,
know, 2.
between 12 and 2,
You know,
yeah.
But at
and my
what
gain, my red
at
and
what
yellow
FPL
channels are,
level? Oh, go ahead.
no, the red,
Go ahead.
the yellow and red channels are not. I don't crank. I mean, that's something I learned. It took me years to figure out that you know, you don't. Once I discovered Fryette and I wasn't getting that dual rectum fryer sound, you know, it's like, well, it sound, just turn the distortion all the way up and the gain, it'll sound better, you know. But it's just like this. It sounds like this, and I was like, I can back it off and I can hear my weird chords, you know, and it's way better to have a little. And Angus and Malcolm, they're the proofs in the pudding with them. They're clean distortion, and they sound louder than anybody to me. Like, you know,
Yeah, we were just talking about that on the last show. How if you really actually listen to those guitar tones, you're like, that's damn near clean.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's
You know?
amazing. I mean, it's shocking how goddamn good they are too. It just blows my mind. I just like to listen in stereo and hear one brother on each side, and it's just fun. It just blows my mind. You know? The other guy that I really worship and he does not play that loud is Billy Gibbons, and you know, I got to stand on the side of the stage at a festival, and he came over and introduced himself to me in the middle of the show, like 60,000 people, and we had played a couple hours earlier or whatever. And he was like, God, you know, it's great playing in front of these big crowds, but having a fellow guitarist on the side of the stage, you know, really raises the stakes. I want to play great. And I'm like, okay, yes, Mr. Gibbons, I hope I'm not intimidating you. And he was playing.
He was giving you that Texas charm.
He's the best. He's the nicest cat ever, man. But he was playing. I hung out with him after the show, and he painted up a guitar for me. I'd found a Music Man Stingray in Germany, brand new, 1970s, never been sold, and sitting in the window in this guitar shop in Germany for 25, 30 years, whatever. And plastic was still in the pickguard. And,
Wow.
So we were oohing and ahhing over that. And I said, well, you know, would you sign this for me? And he said, yeah, you want to sign it or really fuck it up? I said, go to town. So he did all this, stuff with felt pens, Billy ZZ 4-page. Just really cool. One of my prized possessions. But he was playing like a late model Telly through a Digitech guitar effects processors. And I was like, whoa. I told him I was really surprised. And he said, you know, it's all on the hands page. And I go, yes and no.
Yeah.
You know, I think he just, you know, for him, he's fine with that. I when I did that thing with Lincoln Park for their benefit, their foundation, I didn't want to drag in ears, and they don't play loud on stage at all. Like, and they're all in their ears. There's no stage.
They actually listen to their sound man.
Yeah. No, they don't have amps. They didn't have any amps. It was all in. It was like it was weird. But so I said, well, you guys. I got together with their guitar tech and dialed in 2 sounds, like a lead sound and a rhythm sound. It was like, I want to say Kemper or Axe Effects or one of those things. And it just didn't give me a boner. I just, everybody, some of my friends, as they get older, they're just like, yeah, oh, it's great. It sounds amazing. And I'm like, actually, it doesn't. It
doesn't feel amazing.
That's the sound we feel, like feeling like this. And I've told this story a million times, but when Steve came into we were at Capitol Records working on Aftertaste, and he came in with my my 2150, right? My
your
Magenta,
first 2150. Yeah,
my first. And I had this Harry Colby modified boogie power amp, something, I forget what it was called, and everybody, the co-producer and the engineer and the house engineer and everybody were farting around doing their thing, whatever. And I unplugged from the back of the boogie, and I plugged into my Fryette, and everybody stopped what they were doing, like everybody, and they were like, "What the fuck is that?" And I just go, "That's my new amp." It was like everybody was shitting their pants. It's that you can't. You're not going to get that when you're running through some digital modeled thing. I'm sorry. It just doesn't. It's never going to be the same.
We had not
in my experience, it's not.
We had not met face to face yet at that time.
No.
We only had spoken on the phone, and I went down to your recording studio and I dropped it off with your guitar tech and left because I didn't want to impose, and I didn't want to be one of those people that, hey, I'm going to go in and hang with those guys. And I just didn't want any of that. I wanted just to get the amp in your hands and then go back to the shop. And then by the time I got back, I would know whether we made an impression or not. And that's the way I wanted it to be. When I got back, and then the next day, what I got back was, when can we get more of this stuff? And I just went, yes.
Yeah. I thought you just didn't want to hang out because I was too tall.
No, that's now, not back then. He's more sensitive.
I'll tell you honestly why I was a little intimidated, because when I first talked to your manager, I was being a little full of myself. When he first called and said, I'm calling about Helmet. We're interested in checking out some of your gear, and we're recording a new album. And one of our employees had been playing the previous album day after day after day after day, to the point where I was like, that's starting to grow on me, and I'm going to murder you if you don't stop playing that.
You're like, this is kind of cool, but fuck you, play something else.
But I finally said, give me the CD. I want to go home and listen to it in my own environment. And I did. And I've always had this thing about each different track on a record should be in a different key. And there was like 4 or 5 tracks in a row that were all in the same key. And I just thought, I'm still listening to this, and I'm really getting into it, and I'm getting carried along. And you know what? It sort of broke me of that every key has to change, because there was an atmospheric change that I discovered. It was an atmospheric change.
And if it's good,
and I was really into that. But I was also feeling pretty cocky. So when he called, he said, Helmet is working on a new record. And I went, awesome. What key is it going to be?
When I
hung up the phone, I was like, okay, I've blown the relationship right at the very beginning. They're going to tell me to fuck off.
That's funny, though.
Our old business managers were in New York, RZO, Raskov, Zisblat, and the receptionist was an opera singer. She'd gone to my school, Manhattan School of Music and Opera, and she said, she was really sweet. I wish I could remember her name, but she said, she's like, listen to your music. There's a lot of D. Like, This is true. Yes.
You're
Yeah.
like,
It's my
this,
favorite.
and this is
It's my.
by
It's the
design.
saddest. I was like, Spinal Tap. It's the D minor is the saddest key.
Right.
And that's my, my favorite Mozart piano concerto goes in D minor. So that's why I did the drop D tuning. So yeah, that's pretty funny, man. Yeah, well, I just did a little film session last week, and because I have call, I'm so stupid that I still get confused by the GPDI. I'm like, I can't. The knobs are not working. Nothing's working on the knobs. What are you plugged into? I'm plugged into the input. What are you coming out of? The output. And he's like, that's just going straight from your guitar.
Yeah, you got the clean out. Yeah.
Yeah, you were using the direct buffer out. I'm going, yeah, that's before everything.
The classical nerd, that composer I work with a lot, he just, if there's like any, like, it's really noisy, I'm just it's an amplified signal. It's an electric guitar, goddammit. And but we did discover that I was using balanced to unbalanced, with which I use at home. It doesn't bother me at home because I gate it or I just use the noise. But some people are really sensitive to it. So it sounded great after that. It was really, really nice. I used it. He did a CNN documentary that I played on, and then the movie. This thing was an Austrian 6-part like HBO series thing, and that's all I use now. I used to take my preamp, my
GP3.
My GP3.
So I imagine for that gig, you're doing nothing like you're hired because you're buddies with the composer, not because you're doing helmet stuff, right?
He
it's
likes
completely different bag. You're not coming in there going, all right, where can I put all this drop D shit all over your stuff?
I need something in D.
Yeah.
I know who to call.
If it's in D, I'm your boy.
Yeah, I have my own particular brand of guitar idiocy that nobody else can do or wants to do. So I get hired for that. Elliot Goldenthal, I've done a bunch of his movies, like Heat and Titus and In Dreams and Final Fantasy and Good Thief and Across the Universe. And we have beers and we start really late and we work till like 7 a.m. and he drinks Foster's oil cans. And he's just like his things he's like, give me some dentistry, He's like that sound you got like this, he's like, this is a car crash. He's like, get that, go, so you have to start. The armored car is gonna skid here and smash into the beams or whatever. It's really funny, man. So I was using with him. I used a full half stack. I actually flew me to London on In Dreams, and I recorded at Abbey Road in the Beatles room in the Studio B, just me by myself. It was I had my Fryette half stack, and then that famous control room up the steps up the side of the wall there, and there's the control room, and I was just sitting in there like, fuck and me, this is I went over to the walls and I was just like putting my nose and smelling and then putting my arms on the wall and kind of humping it, just like, oh my god.
Yeah, I'm actually glad you were that weird in there, because that's what you should do.
Cool.
If you find yourself working in that room, you really should be that weird.
You know what I want to be able to say now? I want to be like, for the upcoming Ultra Lead redo, I want to be able to say this amp was in Abbey Road in the B room. That'll be enough for me. You don't have to care about anything else that it does. All you have to know is that. I want to do a little quick retrospective of just the very recently on you, just to give our viewers a little bit of a background. You're
not talking about my porn career though, right?
I'm getting to that.
We'll get to that, but let's get the rudimentary stuff out of the way first. So
that's embarrassing.
You did the 30th anniversary helmet tour in 2019, and in the same year you did the Betty 25th anniversary gig, right? And then you'd been, was it the 24th?
Yeah,
25th?
Betty came out in '94, so the Betty tour was 2014, and it went so well that we extended it to 2015.
Great.
Went for a long.
So then after that, you did the 30th anniversary helmet.
Yeah, that
shows.
was 2019.
Right. Okay. And since then, COVID has been kicking you in the balls and the ass and in the forehead and in the teeth.
Yeah.
And through all that, you've been recording, doing movie soundtrack stuff. You've been doing online guitar lessons. You've been doing interviews. You've been collaborating with other companies doing like a pedal distortion kind of a thing. And now you're planning this covers and hits tour where you covered your favorite songs or some of
my favorite songs. Yeah.
some of your favorite
And
songs.
I've also been remote producing, which I started about 3 years ago with a band in Sao Paulo that couldn't afford to fly me down there. So, and I've got, since I moved in here, my place in Glendale that I bought, perfect timing. I bought it and moved in at the beginning of the pandemic, and then lost all of my work. But yeah, great.
I know that story. That's my story.
Yeah, I know, it's great, right? But I haven't really dialed in. So I did a track for a band from Toulouse, South France. I did a band from Brooklyn, a band from Chicago, a band from Boise, Idaho, a band from Sao Paulo, a band from Melbourne. And I'm gonna actually go do an album, produce an album in Boise because the boys dug what I did to their song, and
Awesome.
that's been really weird and fun. And I have the School of Rock classes, the songwriting classes. So that's been amazing. Really, the kids are amazing. I worked with the All-Star Kids, and then they recorded in the meantime in LA and asked me to come and sit in with them. It was really funny. The bass player.
Oh man!
I just remember the bass player. Her name was Ariana, and she was about this tall. I don't know how old she was, 14, 15, and she just goes, I didn't even play for like 30 seconds. She's like, "Do you think you could turn down?"
Oh, that's so awesome. Perfect.
And I was like, of course. I'm so sorry. And so we do a run through, and the engineers of the guy, because they're recording it or whatever, they're like, "Paige, can you turn your guitar up?" And I'm like, "Actually, I can't." I go, "Ariana,
check with Ariana.
She's running the session, guys.
She's running the show. So I'm just here. It's like, I just wrote the song. I'm just here for moral support. It was hilarious. Man. The kids.
That's fantastic. I love it.
When I left, when I was getting ready to leave, my little songwriter Kaylee because there's a songwriter for the All Stars. There's 7 of them, one in Brazil, one in Mexico, and they're all over the country. And they record their song with their region. So there'd be like musicians in the Northeast, musicians, and ours was in the LA version was like Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, California. And Kaylee was one of my writers, and so I got to hear her song performed, and I was just felt like a proud papa. It was really, really, really cool. And the kids are
nice.
So at the end, all these 30 kids surround me, and like signed a poster for me, and they're just really sweet, man. It's really a cool thing.
Oh man,
yeah, I'm super into it. I love that. I think it's a great organization, and I'm really. I'm working remotely mostly with the kids because they're in St. Louis. My 2 classes were in St. Louis, and then the rest of the kids were all over the place. And they were very thorough, like education about child safety and all the stuff that's, I was really like, if I had a child, I would feel comfortable and confident that they could go there after school and have a safe haven and learn music. I mean, they do a great job teaching them. We didn't have anything like that. I was sitting there with like Allman Brothers records, and I'm like, God, what is that? What's that? Like figuring, or like trying to figure out Led Zeppelin riffs,
Yeah. When I was teaching, I taught private guitar forever, but there were times in my life when I decided to do kind of my own school of rock sort of thing, where I would just set up one day of my teaching where I think I had 4 or 5 bands throughout the day. And, I'm primarily a guitarist. Cool. I can kind of play most stuff. So if I had a band where it's like, okay, I have 2 guitar players and I have a bass player, but there's no drummer in this band. Okay, I'll play drums. And then the next band, okay, they don't have a bass player. I'll play bass. And then what I did was I went and I just booked a regular gig at a venue. And it's like, okay, I'm going to bring in like my School of Rock. And then we would just do a night.
Oh, that's cool.
At this place. And so all the parents would come and they would bring their entire family. So the venue just had a killing night because, you know, everybody's there, you know, buying tons of food and drinking like crazy. And then I would get up there and play with all these kids. And it's almost enough to not feel like you need to make your own music. You kind of wish like, oh man, if I could make my living just doing this, you know what I mean? Because it's just like the vibes are so positive.
Yeah,
and I haven't done that for a long time, but
they haven't gotten jaded. You know, I did in my hometown in Medford, Oregon. There's a festival, a music festival, 100-year-old classical musical festival called the Britt Festival. Peter Britt was an artist, writer, I guess, back in the 1800s in the area. And I went as a kid. I met Ralph Towner there. I saw, you know, Kenny Burrell.
Oh, wow.
And Hootie Williams. I've seen a lot of great concerts there. So they asked me, a friend of mine was on the board. He said, hey, we're doing this rock camp thing. How, you know, you're going to be here this summer, because my mom and dad lived there and I'd always go visit them. And so I said, yeah, of course I'll do it, you know. And I had my group, I had the oldest kids. They were like 16 and
okay.
I had them ready by Wednesday. They were ready to go. They were called Colonel Sanders and the Mountain Men. And so and those guys were dialed in, but we'd have staff meetings every day. And one of the teachers, Chosky, this girl from a really cool group called Raining Jane, said, does anybody have time to come in my group? I'm having a hell of a time. I just can't get them going. And I'm like, my guys are in good shape. I'll pop in. So, and I walk in and Chosky's dejected and the kids are like, you know, spit wads and just farting around.
It's a bad scene.
Yeah. And, you know, and you guys know I'm 6'3". So I walked in, you know, towering over the kids, and I'm like, what's going on? Let me hear your part. And they're like, oh my God. You know, and I got right in the middle of all of them. Just like, let me hear your part. What are you playing? And I went around the circle, and I just got them super dialed in. I'm like, Taylor, the drummer's name was Taylor. I can remember his name. I can't remember the other kids' names, but Taylor, that kick drums the heartbeat. That has to be constant. Keep going. Boom, boom, boom. If the heart dies, the band dies, you know, whatever. Anyway, we're doing the concert, and they went by age. That was the youngest group, so they were on first, and I was the stagehand. I was plugging their guitars in. You like the sound? It's okay. Okay, bass, good. You like that? A little louder. And so they got up there, the first band, the kids, and I got so choked up. I was sitting on the side of the stage, and Taylor was playing and staring at me, and I was just like, boom, 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 kicked him, and he just joy. He was so happy, and it was. The girls asked me to say something because it's my hometown, and I got up there, and I was just verklempt. I was overwhelmed because you see, kids,
great, that's nice.
that enthusiasm, that excitement for music that so many of my rock star friends have lost. I hate to say it.
I was just gonna say, you're going, I wish I could have what you have.
I do because I'm not a rock star, but I'm still, you know, and I sit around all day and I, you know, I'm working on, you know, Wayne Shorter tunes or whatever, you know what I mean?
I can't. Oh yeah, I love that tune.
If you play jazz, you'll never lose your lust for music. If you want to be a rock star and have a big house, that's not music. That's cool. That's fine. Nothing against that. But my friend, I swear, I can rattle off 5. I won't say who, and they're just like, they're miserable. Like,
can I say one thing real quick to our audience? If there's anybody that goes out on stage and puts it all, leaves it all on the table when they're done, and then after that hangs out for half an hour to an hour, signs autographs, has conversations with fans, is attentive to who is out there in his audience, and is not only just playing the hey bro and pointing the finger and shit, but you're actually aware of who's out there and you're interacting with them besides the music that you're playing. You're spiritually really out there in the audience with them, and it really shows. And a perfect example of that was a gig that I came and saw. It was in Hollywood, the thing upstairs where Erico drank all of the all of the
Yeah,
Jaeger
I
bombs.
was gonna say, okay, that's the night Eric. That was so cute.
Yeah, and I was in the audience, and there was a little bit of a break between a couple of songs, and I've got my drink, and I said, "Are you my dad?" And 4 guys standing around me, like, circled around me with these looks on their face like they were just gonna punch me out because they were such big fans, and they thought I was being a detractor, right? And I was just I was just I was just trying to poke fun and lighten things up, and and,
yeah.
these guys circle me, and you go, "Guys, back off. It's okay." And they, like, went they parted. And then you went and played the next song, and it was like
That's
you
funny.
had to be aware of what's going on out in the audience and have that kind of rapport with the audience and control where everybody just went, "Oh, he's okay. All right, fine. All right." And then you go
Yeah.
right into the next song without
Well,
even a thought.
when you think about what a privilege it is to play, I mean, now it's going to be December 1st will be 2 years, and we've had
Yeah,
tours. We had all these tours postponed and canceled, and one after another, and I never took it for granted. Believe me, ever. I love doing it, but now I'm really like I'm just rehearsing 2 weeks ago for about 6-7 days, getting ready for the shows with System of a Down and Korn and stuff. I was on cloud 9. It just felt so great to plug in and sing our songs. I mentioned this to somebody in an interview yesterday, that when I had the 7 years away from Helmet, I had great things going on. It was fun. I got to play with, as you guys know, David Bowie. I got to play with Ben Neal, with Joe Henry. I did all these Elliot Goldenthal movie scores. Fantastic, really, really fun. But there's nothing like playing the Helmet music. It's just it fulfills something in me that's it's I don't know, it's just really fun. And it's like that, if I'm on stage and I kick the bucket in my zone, I got my amps and I got my guitars, my mics, and there, it's like that. Like, I'll be happy. Like, that's the way to go.
And the pandemic really kind of shows you like this will all come to an end at some point for everyone. Like at some point you will be playing your last gig.
I know.
And when you think about it, like how many more of these do I actually have? And then you really kind of look at it differently.
61. Yeah.
Wow.
No.
Hey,
no.
Paige, while we have you, I want to make sure that we ask questions that the people who come on the show and hang out with us would love to get you to answer. I'm going to pop this up on the screen. Just some basic beer stuff, if you don't mind answering it.
Yeah.
Can you see that? Yeah, fresh beer, definitely.
Oh, he's going to take us to the refrigerator with him. See, that's how Paige is. That's the Paige Hamilton I know and love. He brings you along with the journey.
Guy.
This is what everybody's paying for tonight.
That's right.
You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
I can hardly wait for the restroom break.
Yeah, I do. I was dating a girl in Ireland. I would take her. We would talk for 7 hours, and I would take her to the bathroom for number one, not for number two. But but I would always sing a girl from Ipanema for her. So I had a little elevator music. Dun, 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 the girl from Dublin, she goes
walking.
It was like,
only you did it in D.
Exactly. What a
sorry, I couldn't resist.
I know.
That tune's actually kind of deceptively difficult to play, man.
Oh, that bridge! So, anyway. What the hell? That bridge!
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
God, what a guy! What a genius! And what an absolute genius, man! My friend saw him at a bar once in Brazil.
Serious?
Yeah, he was. 3 sheets to the wind and just.
Yeah, I was going to say, tell us that he was smashed out of his mind and playing those chord changes.
Yeah, he was smashed, completely smashed. But God, what a genius! I have some kind of go-to people that are kind of at the heart of my musical core, and Jobim is one of them. It's John Coltrane, Wayne Shorter, Tony Carlos Jobim, those guys.
The obvious choices when you listen to Helmet, you're like, that's exactly what I think.
You hear the Jobim influence. Well, I got
and here's BMO. One of our viewers here, Bima, says the boy from Ipanema is in D.
The boy.
Actually, it is in F, but you know.
Oh, here we go.
But they apparently the original key was supposed to have been A flat, but in the States we do it in F. I can't remember.
Most of us just play it out of the stupid real book.
I love this chord right here.
Yeah, baby.
It's nice. But yeah, that's a masterpiece. That's so incredible. And I when I was in school, I didn't get it. I was like, it was campy, and I didn't get it. And the more I practiced and played and learned, and the better I got, the more I realized what a masterpiece that is. But the song, how insensitive, and
well, it's one of those things where you know, when you first approach it, you go, oh,
it's intimidating.
Yeah, it's not that difficult. It's like, okay, sound good on it.
It just sounds intimidating. So that was my experience. It was intimidating. I didn't like it, and I didn't want to try to approach it or play like that because secretly I was intimidated that I would never be able to play anything like that. Until I started trying it, and then I went, "Is that all there was to it? You just had to do." But I was never schooled, so I never knew if I was playing it right or not.
My friend, my drummer friend from my Gandhi band is a great friend of mine, Matt Flynn. He plays in Maroon 5 now, and so he's essentially like, you know, retired from real music, and he has this thing about jazz. Like, I know believe me, he knows. He has this thing about jazz, and I think it's the same thing. I just think he feels like it's beyond his. But he's an amazing drummer. I mean, you're not hearing it in Maroon 5 because they cut every single beat up and every single
right.
That sound, you know what I mean? So I told him, I said, can you please get a gig with Adele? I was like, I like her music. I'm not so big on Maroon 5. And
yeah.
So to the Ken McMahon question.
Yeah. So what about your guitar and your pickup choices?
Well, you know, I have my Sig models. We just reissued the LTD model for real limited. We're going to sell 20 of them, and they went so fast that we had to double it. So we just sold 40, and then we cut it off ESP. But and I mean, I'm very proud of my relationship with them. They've been so good to me. Matt, the president, I'm close with him, and. Yeah, they just do a great job. I mean, I have, my pickups, there's a weird dynamic between DiMarzio and ESP because something happened 30 years ago in Japan that I'm kind of unaware of. I'm not sure the full story. I think it's some sort of Japanese mafia thing. Weird, I don't know. I don't want to speculate, but I got that impression. And Larry, and I'm friendly with Larry DiMarzio because he's, they've been making pickups for a million years, and we designed my pickup. Steve Blucher, who is the guy that said you need to check out these amps, this guy in California named Steve Fryette, and he's the reason I got to Fryette. Yeah, so
cool.
Blucher is the guy. He came to my basement in New York, and I had a TC parametric EQ, and I was like, see, I don't feel that. When I get up here, it's thin and I don't like that. And then over here, I didn't know, like, it was like, yeah, well, you need, the boost at 80 or whatever the fuck. He'd wind to pick up and come back, and we'd sit there and I'd play and go, this is really cool. How about this? And he came up with this pickup, hinted to Larry, God, it would be really cool if we had called one of your biggest selling pickups the Page Hamilton model instead of the Air Zone. Whatever.
Right.
I don't think I'm big enough rock star for Larry, so he's got Vi and Satriani and those guys that So, and I'm not a guitar hero, so.
Paige, I have a question for you about your guitar. So,
my Sig?
Yeah. So the Sig. What did you play before the Sig?
I had just an ESP Horizon Custom. I took it. I went to
Okay.
that ESP. Yeah, I went to the shop. They were a little company in New York at the time, and I went and I played about 4 or 5 guitars. Just they only had 50 guitars,
Yeah.
and I just played this. This guy right here was my original. Can you see?
Yeah, totally. So I'm assuming that the Horizon was the jumping off point for your Sig model, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
So
this is
what
this.
are the kind of what are the constituent elements of the Sig model that really make it different from the Horizon that you were playing originally?
It's essentially the same, except for because I'm a spaz on stage. I can only have one knob.
Okay.
So they have to take off the tone knob, and I can't have switches because I'll just turn them off and on. Like it'd be a shit show. So I just went one volume knob, but I like the holes that are there because we got the fat guy from the physical. You know that when you open the windows or the physical graffiti album cover, there's people in the windows in that building on St. Mark's in New York.
Yeah.
There's the fat guy. So we cut that out and put that in one of the holes. And I put
so
and
cool.
I remove the back plate so I can do spring stuff that I stole from Casper Brotzmann, my friend in Germany, who I made an album called Zulu Time with. Yeah, that's kind of it. The Sig model that I designed, the first Sig model that I quote unquote designed, was based on it was a Horizon with a slightly different body shape, but we were trying to go for that. I had Paul Reed Smith had made me a couple of guitars, and one of them was a McCarthy. McCarty.
Yeah.
Oh. It was a Paul McCartney, the Paul McCandless, the guy that plays oboe in Oregon. It was
He's great, man.
And yeah, he's incredible. Well, but I wanted one with a whammy, and we did. My artist friend Eric Sanko, who I just actually texted with today in New York, bass player from Lounge Lizards and Skeleton Key. He had this aluminum leaf stuff, and I go, that looks really cool. So we aluminum leafed the top, and then Paul Reed Smith finished over it, so it wouldn't peel off. And so I wanted that kind of finish, but that would have been really expensive to do a Sig model like that. So they kind of did a brushed aluminum thing. And then that guitar, I originally had this stupid idea that I wanted it to be super useful, that I use it for helmet and for film stuff and for jazz. So I had 2 pickups in it, and within like 1 gig, I was like, taking all this stuff out. I can't deal with it.
Helmet is a different world, man. Helmet's a different world.
It's
is.
so I don't like getting out of my zone, because you get in this musical zone and it's like everything just slows down, and so I just have to feel everything, and I just feel more comfortable. But the ESPs, Alder, Maple,
is it a neck through?
The new one they made me is a set neck, but mine are neck through.
Okay.
They just made me one of their USA models, and we were going to premiere it at the show at the football stadium, and it got canceled. But I like a guitar for helmet that's resonant, and like the PRSs are very, very dead. And which is good for film stuff, because you don't really want, if you're reading a part, you don't want any kind of harmonic overtones or whatever. But in helmet, I like that. That openness. I mean, Steve and I've talked about this. Like, one of the great things about the amp is that just was sort of like, oh my God, I feel like I just got let out of prison. Is I can hear my full range, of the harmonic stuff I'm doing, And
but so are the ESPs a poly finish? I assume they are, right?
Are they what?
Like a polyurethane
polyethylene
finish?
as
Not
opposed
nitro, right?
as opposed to a nitrocellulose finish.
On the
because
top, I don't know. Well, the one they just made me is it's really cool. It's like a matte finish. I have my fan on. It keeps blowing my sheet music on the floor.
Fee-fi-fo fum.
Yeah, that's a really. Do you know that tune by Wayne Shorter?
Oh yeah, I know that tune well.
It's a bear. Where's the guitar they made me? What the heck? It's kind of a mess
Kelly
in
B,
here.
our research expert, Kelly B. He says yes, it is poly.
Says
Thanks, Kelly.
polyurethane, yeah.
You're the
Oh,
man.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, this is the one they just made me, which I love. It's steel frets, and it's got the matte finish. It's very natural, and this is a neck. This kind of the set neck thing.
Is it 22
I like
frets?
it. It's great.
Does it have? Can you actually sort of see the grain in the finish on the back?
There's
In other
24
words,
frets.
the
24
dips?
frets. 24 frets, alder body, maple top.
Yeah.
Matte
That
finish.
doesn't look like a poly finish on that one. That looks like they might have done something like a nitro, something really thin.
They just didn't. They didn't buff it out. So they.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm asking is, do you see the grain in the surface of the finish? Do you see the dips of the grain, or is it perfectly smooth?
Yeah. On the back, you can see, it's just wood. It's just like that. And the top, you can see too. It's beautiful, man. It's because I wanted to do one that wasn't, that didn't have a thick finish on it. You see how and it's neat. The only thing I don't like is that it's got a neck pickup.
I love that bound. I love that bound fretboard.
I used it in helmet rehearsals, and it throws me off. I have to grow up. I have to learn.
So you only use the bridge pickup.
This is my first SIG model.
Yeah. So you had a floating bridge?
Yeah. This is a Wilkinson. My other SIGs are Floyd's.
Paige,
which I love.
Know that. I never would have thought that your music, that you were playing that on any sort of a tremolo, like any sort of a floating thing. That kind of blows my mind.
If I don't have a trem, I reach down and I feel like I'm gonna fall over. I use it. I don't use it. You'll never hear me do a, wow.
Exactly.
I don't do car commercials. I mean, I would. If they pay me, I would do it. But
I've done that.
I use the whammy in a totally different way. It's like I don't know. There's something. I have one tune that I haven't figured out how to record yet because the whole riff is whammy. Bam. It's like, I think I'm going to call it Nausea. I think the working title is Nausea or something like that.
So you probably use the whammy bar more like a flanger than a tremolo. Yeah,
I'm no wizard, with it. I can't do like the stuff. I use it Vi that does all the cool stuff. He's not even human though, so it's not really fair. He's like an alien.
So do you primarily just use the bridge pickup? You don't even use the neck pickup?
Use the
what? Is that what you were saying before? Are you saying that you don't use ever use a neck pickup on a guitar?
When I do jazz stuff, that's my Les Paul has
on the helmet stuff. Do you're primarily on the bridge pickup?
Bridge. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got this.
So bridge pickup. It's an air zone
in the neck on this new guitar, and I want to try to use it for other stuff, but I'll see what happens. Hopefully I can deal with it, and I won't trip on stage. I can just see me. It'll make me forget lyrics or something. I don't know. What's this pickup doing here?
So if you're rolling into hey, take care, Scott. I see that. If you're rolling into one of these film sessions that you're doing with your composer friend, what are you bringing? You're bringing a GPDI.
A GPDI, an LTD ESP that has Fernandez sustainers in it.
Okay.
And then usually probably either my Esp Strat or my Paul Reed Smith McCarty. That's what I took the last session, like a couple of days ago. I took the McCarty. I have another McCarty that's just peach colored.
So the McCarty it's a solid body, just totally stock. The McCarty pickups, hardtail.
Except for it has a whammy.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, it has a whammy. Yeah, they made 2 guitars for me with whammy. Those guitars don't come with whammies, but
I was going to say that's not a McCarty thing. Yeah.
Oh no, I wanted. It's great, man. It's a really great guitar. My Elliot Goldthal would call it. It's like bring that metal guitar, that metal aluminum thing. And I'm like, okay.
So you said you
But
have
yeah,
an ESP Strat?
I have 3. Yes. My dear friend, my little Italian brother back east has one at his house, so I always have a guitar there for stuff that we do. Anthony
Okay.
Trujillo. His son is my godson. Yeah.
Awesome.
But then I have 2 here. The guitars I use with Bowie, because with Bowie I needed to use neck pickup. I needed to use. We were covering 30 years of material, so there'd be songs like from the recent album, Hours, a song called 7 that Reeves had done the guitars on in the album, and it had a real, that neck sound, and I love it. I mean, I love doing it, but it's a whole different style of guitar playing, I mean,
Right.
I even said to Bowie, I go, I'm not really a guitar player. I'm a shit sculptor. And he was like it's like, oh God, Paige, you stop it. And I'm like, no, it's true. I don't really classic rock. I mean, I don't have a bag of tricks, but
Yes, you do.
It was fun. Those guitars covered everything. It's kind of funny. After I left, Earl Slick came back, and Matt, the president of ESP, said, calls me up. He goes, "Hey, Paige, so Earl Slick, and they were kind of giving me shit about the ESPs, and because Gibson was bringing me guitars, everybody's bringing me guitars. I have this. I kept this. Is a really neat Carina Patrick Egel Fret King, really neat guitar.
Oh, Steve has one of those.
Yeah, this sounds incredible. But
yeah, Steve's gonna bust one out, I'm sure.
Yeah, I love this guitar. I keep this tuned a half step.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that.
Ooh, I like it. Oh, nice. That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
they're great,
cool,
right?
Huh? Yeah, Trev Wilkerson gave me this.
I love this thing, but I found that really versatile. The Strat that's called the Vintage Plus. They don't make them anymore, but those were just really useful. And
so wait a minute, you're saying that Patrick Egel is behind that Fret King thing?
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah, does he? Yeah.
I only knew that Trev Wilkerson was involved, so I guess that was for the pickups.
Yeah, mine says by Egel.
Mine doesn't say that.
Yeah, this was in 1999 when I got this, and Blucher made the pickups for me, yeah, I love this guitar, man. I keep it tuned a half step down, which is useful, for different things. But pretending I can figure out Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan licks.
Well, Paige, I was going to ask you with those Strats, if you're taking them to your your film sessions, do you have hum canceling pickups in there?
Yes.
Okay, I figured.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you have rails.
On one, these are stacked. These Blucher made these for me, and then the other one has
finish is beautiful, man. That finish.
I know,
is
it's
beautiful.
gold badass. Yeah, it's a really nice.
I have
guitar.
a Strat with those pickups in it.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
But I haven't played it in forever. I don't even remember what it sounds like.
What guitar is that, Steve? I've never seen
the white one. The white one that's broken that needs to.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, getting it fixed.
The other one has a humbucker in the bridge. The blue one. Yeah, I mean, I trust Blucher implicitly. He just has really good ears. He hears things, I think, maybe, not the way I do, but I'll describe something to him, or I'll say, oh, I just got this pedal. And he'll be like, oh, that's nice, but that's good, except for it's really compressed, or it's really, or whatever. Like, yeah, I know.
You know what's crazy about that? Is with Steve, like, think about how many people actually know his name, but think about how much he's kind of indirectly influenced
Mm-hmm.
so many sounds that we've heard on so many records for so
And he's
long.
so low key about it.
I mean, that
I know.
guy, crazy.
He's the best. He's one of the funniest people. I mean, I just, he just cracks me up. When I went through that Bowie thing and I saw myself on, I think, SNL or something, and I just looked so blah, so I decided to go bleach my hair. I had hair still, and so I went and bleached my hair white. And so he was just giving me shit. He's like, "Hey, Billy Idol, can you come down to the?" He's just such a smart ass. And one time at NAMM, I stopped by his booth, and my Guitar Hero mentor John Stoll, who I had no idea had an affiliation with DiMarzio, was there. And Blucher's like, "Sit down, Hamilton. You're gonna play some jazz." And I was like, "In front of people? Like, there's people here, with him, And John is God to me. He's other level, otherworldly, amazing. And when you play with him, he picks you up. It's like he's so good. He picks you up. It's incredible. And so it was great. It was really fun, man. Blucher, I guess he was complimenting. He goes, "Sounds like you've been practicing, Hamilton." I'm like, every
You're like,
goddamn day.
Fee fi fo fum, my man.
Yeah, baby, fee fi fo fum.
Yeah, well, it's great to have people around like that don't sugarcoat everything when they're talking to you. So you know that what's coming out of their mouth is what's coming out of their brain or their heart, and you go, "Okay, I trust what's coming out of there." And that's the way I always felt about Blucher. I could always have a conversation with him without wondering, is he telling me what
If
I
you had
want to
an
hear?
ulterior motive. Yeah.
Yeah, and he never has that. It's always
Nope.
right.
Just an honest guy that happens to be brilliant.
Yeah.
Just because I knew it was in the corner, that's my McCarty. I have a hollow body.
A hollow?
And it's spruce. So it's
Oh, that's gorgeous. Wow.
yeah, it's a
like
really, 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 really great guitar.
Dope.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I didn't know they made a hollow.
Yeah, actually, the hollow bodies are my favorite guitars that PRS made. To me, they're kind of like the secret guitar that that's the one that really makes sense for me.
Mm.
And it
That's
doesn't. I
cool.
mean, when you look at it, like I was so dumb when I first started looking at PRSs. I thought, that's kind of like a Les Paul. Then when you actually A/B them sonically, you're like, okay, they have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah.
And so you kind of go, all right, well, is this like a 335? No, like nothing like a 335. It's it's its own animal, and but eminently usable, super versatile.
That's cool.
So anyway, yeah, it's great guitar.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's the thing about unusual guitar formats. So it's just the same way with amps. It's when somebody sees something that they're not familiar with, they have to start trying to figure out, is it like this? Is it like this? Is it something?
Isn't that funny? Yeah. And it's like, stop doing that. Just evaluate it for what it is. And can it fit into my toolbox?
Well, but people have to figure out how to fit it into their toolbox by giving themselves some kind of signpost where, how you find out, you just pick it up and you play it. But seems like everybody wants to have a preconceived, they want it prepackaged what it is first, so they can figure out how to approach it.
The preconceptions about instruments are, I just never bought into it because I couldn't afford a 59 Les Paul or a 52 Tele, and so it's like, yeah, of course the guitar is going to sound great, but who the hell can spend 50, 75 grand on a guitar? So when I discovered ESP and I was like, these are great. And I actually took my original ESP into Paul Reed Smith in the factory. And I think it was in Maryland. This is a million years ago. And we were trying to get a guitar, for me. And Bonnie Lloyd, really great woman that used to work there. And she was sending me this guitar and that guitar and whatever. And I was like, yeah, it's cool. They're really great. And they're really, really nice. But ESP, though. And so I took that guitar in, plugged into a Marshall with guys, all these guys standing around Paul and the shop guys. I don't know, 4 or 5 people, and they were just like, "Wow," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's a
But
fucking amazing
Paige,
instrument, and it's
did you
fuchsia
play
and
in
has
D?
reverse headstock and a Floyd Rose, and it says this to every fucking punk rock, want to be in New York. I'm too cool and have to use a beat up Fender Mustang, and it's just a great instrument. It's just a great instrument, and I loved the way it looked. I love that it looked like it did. I remember first playing it in Long Beach at this punk rock club in Long Beach, and the guys, the Helmet fans.
What club?
We were,
Do you remember?
No, I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
My uncle was there though, and he was awesome. He was great. He was like standing in the back wearing like tennis whites, like, and it was pretty awesome. And these guys
Was that the gig in Cherry Hill?
Where the Nazi guys were there, and I stopped the show.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
I had him thrown out.
That was to me one of the landmark Helmet gigs that we had. Our relationship was only a couple years old at that time. I already had a lot of respect for you, and we already had a rapport, but that thing moved it up a whole level.
This
And
sounds
the
like a
reason
story.
was you were, and I've told this story before, but I'm going to tell it again. Okay. Because you guys had a set all structured out. You're barreling through the set, and way in the back. This is what I was saying earlier about you being aware of the audience and not just standing in front of and performing at them. You are aware of what's out there and what's going on, and you're really tuned in like nobody I have ever seen. And these guys way in the back of the hall are like, I see this thing that looks sort of like a little mosh pit or something, but what's actually going on is they're all chanting Sieg Heil and doing the Nazi sign and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And you were going to go from one song right into another song. And no, you stopped and you start berating these guys so bad that they had to, they cowered and left. And then you went right back to, okay, we're going to go back where we pick up where we left off, and you go right back to the next song that you were going to play, but not before dragging these guys by their face verbally out of the hall. And the whole audience just like started applauding. It was like, great, somebody did something about this. And I just looked at that and I went, that's power. That is like the power of giving a shit, about what's going on around you.
Let those people, poison your well and ruin your show, and it's like peacefully coexist or get the fuck out of here and don't be a dick. that was also where Kirk from Flipside, whose photos were on our new live. We just released a live album, and that's where he commented on the Fuchsia ESP. He's like, "What the fuck is that?" I go, "It's a really nice guitar, right?" He's like, "Oh man, you're blowing my whole image of what you're supposed to be, indie rock guy," and I'm like, "Good, okay." I thought punk was supposed to be individual. You're supposed to be yourself, and not like, this is the clothing we wear, these are the guitars we play, this is the attitude we have.
Oh man, I remember. I mean, that was a really big thing when I first became aware of you, and I heard the music. And I mean, actually, it's funny because right when I'm thinking about it now, it's like this doesn't make sense because your music really didn't fit in with exactly what was happening at the time. You weren't.
Yeah.
I mean, Helmet is not grunge. It's not.
I know.
I mean, it's really its own thing. But I remember I became aware of you through the guitar magazines, right?
Mm.
And I thought like you were kind of being marketed as, I don't know, like you belonged in that set, but you playing that ESP, it was like, wait a minute, that's not a Mustang. That's not a pawn shop guitar. Like, that's a cool, like 80s. Like,
yeah.
It's and I always really dug how the ESPs looked, like the Horizons and all of those. I love the ESP stuff.
But the whole image of the band and the way you wheeled it was what separated it and you from everything. It was like, it didn't matter which guitar you were using. What mattered was
except that fit in, Steve. It fit in like, oh yeah, this is really like, It was a
Yeah.
lot of things that seemingly didn't belong, except it all
Everything
went together.
belonged.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we were like plus 4 guys that were. I mean, like I did the liner notes for our live thing about the CB. One show was from CB's and one was from the Big Day Out in Australia. And somebody said to me, a friend and somebody that I know, but it was in another band, and he said something in the press when we started to kind of blow up, and it's a market concept, and I was like, wow, God, this guy knows me. He's like, why are you? And John and I always dressed like 12-year-olds. I mean, I've been dressing the same since Boy Scouts, or like
That's
I wear
the whole
a
reason to play
t-shirt.
music for a living.
Yeah, you still
Don't
do.
grow up.
Like,
Yeah.
that's a marketing concept. I must really be. And and I got this goofball from Australia wearing peg leg skinny jeans and beetle boots, and then Henry had dreadlocks and was, and then after a couple of months on the road, he's like, "This hair sucks," and he shaved it off. I didn't tell him to shave it off. He could have kept it. I don't care. And I remember the big player from Sick of It All, Craig. He said, "Great band, Sick of It All." And he goes, it's like, Henry's so hard. He's got those black socks. And I can't do a New York accent. And Henry was wearing a trucker cap before it was, the hipster doofus, Brooklyn thing. He was this guy from Oregon, and he wore black socks and a trucker cap and like a plaid, a plaid shirt from your dad or whatever. And, funny. I don't know. It's funny. Like I feel like we still fit in. It's really amazing. We play these festivals and we play with all these different. We played with the Warped Tour with bands like Thursday and I can't remember all the the No Effects, punk, I guess, ska punk or whatever. And then we do the metal shows over in Europe with, Motley Crue and who else was on, with Sabbath and it's weird. I feel like everybody's still kind of like people that don't know us are like.
When you were blowing up, who was your management trying to steer you towards, like, you need to go on this tour as opposed to this tour? Because your sound, like you could have gone, or maybe you did, like any which way.
Well,
like
I was kind of a jerk. I didn't want to. We were an indie label band on Amphetamine Reptile, and we had done everything our way. Like it was self-produced, and we did the music we wanted to do. So there was no. And then when the major labels started calling, it's because we paved our own way, so to speak. And they were like the kids, so to speak. The kids were coming to the shows, and they're just seeing dollar signs, and so they put us out with Faith No More. And at first I was skeptical. I was like, really? That's like an MTV, like rap rock? I'm like, I don't know. And then met those guys. They were rad, really awesome dudes.
Faith No More is super cool. Yeah.
Yeah. They're
incredible
really,
band.
really great. Yeah, Patton's an unbelievable talent, like unbelievable. Like just, he can sing anything, and I mean, I gotta be honest.
Huge fan.
I like Peeping Tom, and even better than some of the other stuff he's done, or his Tomahawk and that stuff he did.
Have you ever checked out the Phantomus stuff?
Yeah, we played with him we were on a festival together in Chile.
Oh my God.
Chicago. Yeah, it's great, man. He's just amazing. And so I said, you know what? Don't be a closed-minded asshole. Just because somebody's on a major label and on MTV doesn't mean they suck,
They didn't ask to be there.
Yeah, I was a little indie dork kid, whatever.
Paige, you didn't ask to be there. You just you showed up there too. I mean, you were probably as surprised as anyone else. Like when you started going through, like, holy shit, we're blowing up now. You're like, I never imagined myself blowing up, right? And then you probably had to have that mental readjustment of, okay, wait a minute. Now I'm in the position of the people who I thought, oh, you're an MTV asshole. Like, wait, am I an MTV asshole? I didn't ask for this. It's just kind of happening.
We actually pulled up to a gig in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they had a big marquee with the letters you put on like a movie theater, and it said, I'm not kidding you, they misspelled the name of the band first, which was amazing, but it said It said MTV's Helment, Helment. And I think and we had a tour bus and we pulled up and I'm like, stop the bus, stop the bus. Like, I think I got on Stanier's shoulders or whatever because he's like 6'5". And I was like, I reached up and I tore down the MTVs and then the end or whatever.
Oh my
That's
God.
my boy. That's my boy. Yeah,
You-
baby.
See, you're a college band, right? College radio, that's all you're getting. And you see it expand so quickly because of MTV, and you're gonna get an element of goobers, but for the most part, the people that have stuck with it for all these years, they just care about music. They're not like they
Yeah.
don't care about image, they don't care about they just like the music, and because we're honest. And it's and so
Here's a
many
perfect
bands,
example of it right here.
Yeah.
Look
Oh,
at the
the quote
comment.
Yeah,
at the
that's
bottom
why
of the screen.
I love our fans. I feel like here I am all these years later, it's 32 years later since the band formed, and we're still touring the world, and I get to do this music that I really love. So it's that's all I could ever ask for. You know what I mean?
So let's
I don't
talk
wanna
about
be-
where you're going from here, because you still, first of all, you take really good care of yourself. You're healthy, you exercise, you work all the
Wait.
time. You still explore music and creativity. And but you can still party with the best of them, and you still got horsepower
Yeah.
to use up,
I
and you've got
mean,
shit going on.
my manager, who's like my big brother, he wants me to do an orchestral thing with Helmet, and I thought it'd be really cool because these chords that we have that were unique to the guitar are perfect, orchestral chords, because you have these open intervals, like a root, root 5 root, and then a sharp 11, and a 6 and a major 7, and those will be open, that the chords, there won't be any clashing thirds or anything, it's so that's one thing. And I'm also writing, I'm writing a piece for this 150th anniversary of the Christian Brothers School in Memphis, Tennessee, and that's really been fun. That's a challenge because the orchestration it's a school, it's a high school, and it's like, well, we have one flute, one piccolo, 3 trombones, 6 drummers, and so you're like, okay, that's an interesting orchestration challenge, and it's really fun. Of course, you write the theme first and the changes in the form, but then you have to orchestrate. So that stuff, I've always been fascinated with that, and all these movies I've scored and worked on, I really got into that. And the guitar is such an orchestral instrument, and so that's kind of part of what I'm doing.
Well, even if you're playing, a lot of that kind of like power chordy root 5th and then adding the 9th or whatever, like there's still so much room to build on top of that.
Yeah,
right.
Tons. Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, I'm thinking like it's interesting with Helmet stuff. We're kind of limited playing the guitar. I mean, just the what do I want to say?
The Rage guys said to me, like, we noticed you play all 6 strings. It was Brad. I ran into Brad.
Oh yeah,
I'm like,
bass player.
Yeah, I got him. I might as well use them. It's just the thing that people. Perfect Helmet guitar, right? My 1967 Howard Roberts.
Yeah,
oh yeah, man. That's the first thing I think is, let's hear Meantime.
Exactly. But I think something that people don't understand about the use of space is it's a musical voice, and I think like people that are always filling everything. Well, we were joking about, well, you guys are all D. I'm like, yeah, it's a lot of stuff in D. Well, now we're in drop C or whatever, but it's there's all this, the music that happens in between the notes. We know the overtone series, right? You got root, octave, 5th, another root and a 3rd, going up the overtone series. Well, when you play a chord like this, that's got enough in it to me. You know what I mean? That's a major 7 sharp 11 with this,
Yeah, and try and get that to speak right with distortion. That's a trick.
And I think like there's to fill every crack and crevice, to me is like it doesn't let you absorb. I love BB King, man. Like, how come his solos blow my mind more than some incredibly technical, phenomenal guy? I just BB, because you're like waiting for that next note, and it's just like, where did you, and you're like, oh God, to me, it's power. There's power in the space, in the silence, and the space, and that's
Yeah.
something I love.
And lets the
writing
listener
wise.
put notes in and hear it a certain way and interpret it a
I
certain
think
way.
there are a lot of there are different elements obviously in music that we have to work with, and then some, like BB King is not working with like well, I don't want to say
He's
not
not
working with a mastery of the
working with complex.
harmonic elements, right? But he's not playing Wayne Shorter harmonies.
Yeah.
But the things that he's working with that he's a master of are like you can just zero in on that and you can spend all day with that
The counter
using
melodies.
space.
Yeah. But the thing is, there's a thing about BB King though that people pigeonhole him according to his most recent output. But if you listen to very early stuff, when he was just before anybody really knew who he was, but there's some recorded output from him, live stuff, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
This whole thing about him telling the Edge that I don't know the chords. That motherfucker knew the chords, and there's live evidence showing him doing that stuff. He just decided that this is what everybody wants to hear, and he became an entertainer and a singer, and he sang the songs and he embellished the songs with his soloing. But but he was playing stuff that would make you go, wow, this guy does know what he's doing. That whole other part of I don't know the chords thing.
No
that was
question.
I say this thing all the time. That when you are in the presence of mastery, you're actually hypnotized for a moment. And I think that's really important, because that's why you could go, like hypothetically, you could go to a BB King concert one night and you'd watch him. And I think I've said this on the show. I say this to people all the time. You could watch him and go, oh, that's the answer. That's it. That's what you should do. But then the next night you could go see Yngwie Malmsteen and go, oh, that's the answer. That's what I should do. Or you could go see Bill Frisell and go, no, that's what you should do. Because it's this whole thing of when you are in the presence of mastery, or, you go see Paige Hamilton at a helmet show and you go, oh, no, that's what I
tied it all together perfectly with a bow on top. Look at that.
Exactly. That's what happens when you're in the presence of mastery. Of the particular thing is everything, all the other considerations fall away. You're not thinking when you go see a BB King show, you're not going, oh, he can't play fee fi fo fum.
Yeah.
Oh, he can't play giant steps. You don't give a fuck. You're like, he's giving me the goods. He's giving me his, his humanity, the way that he does it. And then you go see Bill Frisell and you're like, oh, he's giving me his humanity. You go see Paige at a helmet show. Oh, he's giving me, or David Torner, anyone else that you want to talk about or consider great. And, that's one of the magical things about music. And I'm going to run upstairs.
Let's try to get
water.
to these. Let's try to get to these two fan questions, and then sort of get to the last of where Paige Hamilton and Helmet are going next, and then we'll wrap it up, because we've put in some good time. We've got some great stuff, but so we've got this question here, Paige. Will the Move On box set covers and your song Stuck ever be released digitally? I want to blast those in my car.
I don't know. I hope so, but that's like a manager question. We wanted to do that for the fans, just the 7 inches, and Stuck was for ham rap. God, I forgot about that song. That was cool. I hope so. I hope so. I hope it happens before I die. I just don't know, what the plan is on that stuff. So, yeah.
And
Rock
what is
Messiah.
the story of Rock Messiah? Why is it hard to find? Will you ever release it or maybe re-record it? What's that?
Maybe I would re-record it. I have to find. Somebody sent me a bootleg of it. That was done with Albini when we recorded In the Meantime and FBLA 2, which we redid because I fixed it. I made it better before the Meantime record. And, yeah, I was surprised that people knew that. Tad, singer, guitarist guy out in Seattle, just goes by the name Tad. His band. He loved that song. And I was like, how'd you hear that? And I think Steve Albini probably released it and bootlegged it somehow. But yeah, it's funny. I mean, the chorus is "Bow to Me." It's a pretty funny song. I can't really remember how it goes other than that, "Bow to me." Like making fun of rock stars.
So you being I've always known you to be a consummate professional and a health conscious person, and really focused on when you're touring, when you're rehearsing, when you're pulling the band together, you grab the reins and you make sure that everybody toes the mark. So a taskmaster in a good way, but it just shows that your concern for what you do, it's not fake. You are serious about every single performance, and you're serious about every tour, and about giving your fans at least what they expect, if not more. And in these circumstances now, we see a lot of different bands going out and they're touring, and they're going into areas where the safety of the environment is sketchy at best. And I don't see them constantly canceling shows and being in these things, but I see your tour schedules getting interrupted all the time. And I got to think that part of that is you're not screwing around and you're not taking anything for granted, but you need to get out there, and you do have some things planned, and Helmet is going to get out there again. But I have to believe that you're not really just so desperate to get out there and play that you're risking anything or anybody.
You know, I mean, a friend of mine and I have a hiking partner who used to work at Interscope, a label, and I've known her for 25 years. We hiked today actually up to the Wisdom Tree and the Hollywood sign, which is a ball breaker. But we were talking about that, and I said, with these cancellations or postponements for us, if one 20-year-old kid gets COVID and dies, how do I feel? That I played this show because I was trying to make money or what? It's not. The cancellations were painful for me. I mean, like brutal, like financially and missing playing and all that stuff. But there's a greater good. There's some you do have a responsibility to, and I just like Serge from System got COVID. Ray from Korn got COVID. My friends Scott and Ryan from Local H went on tour. They both got COVID. Corey Taylor and his guitarist.
Yeah.
They got COVID. It's still very, very,
all the stuff that happened with Kiss. I mean, that's
the guitar tech died, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's fucked.
Yeah.
It's fucked, and it's as hard as it is, and I want to play, but I can't be selfish and be like, okay, because there will be more shows. There will be. We're hoping next year it's gonna come together. We fly to Europe in March to rehearse. Our base in Europe is Prague. That's where we leave our gear over there, and it's kind of our home over there.
Interesting.
And so we have a couple of months planned, and I so want it to happen. I really do, obviously. So,
well, we want it to happen too.
Yeah, I miss it, man, a lot. I'm writing a new Helmet album to record in. You might be touring. But yeah, it's like so.
Paige, where did the name Helmet come from? That's such a badass name for a band that makes music that sounds like yours.
Wait, where'd the name come from?
Yeah. It's so perfect.
Yeah, I know, right? It's a really good band name. Peter, my old guitarist, and his wife at the time, Renee, and his sister Natalie. We were at this place, Elephant Castle in New York, eating lunch, and we were joking about names. And Renee's like, "Call it the smell of it," and then it would be like, "No, we're gonna call it Poly-Orchids," and then it would be like, there was another stupid.
That would have not gone anywhere.
And Renee was fascinated with Germany because she was in love with Nick Cave, and Nick Cave had lived in Berlin, and he's German, and I studied classical guitar in Stuttgart, so I speak German. So she'd always say, "How do I say, lick my bum, whatever, I don't know, anything," and I'd tell her, and she'd be like, she just called the band after Helmut Newton, Helmut.
Yeah.
And I went, Helmut. I was like, bah, that's it.
Yeah.
And at first, Peter kind of went, I don't know. And I'm like, yeah, you know, it's done. That's it. So it was Renee. Renee was a great woman. She passed away a couple of years ago. She was just really. She paid for the ad in the Village Voice for me to audition musician. I didn't have a pot to piss in, and she paid for the ad for me to audition. To find like whatever I wrote, like dipshit likes Charlie Parker, Led Zeppelin, and Bach. I didn't. I should have written.
And I'm tuning my E string down to D.
So chops, and looks a must. No, so she paid.
Not saying what kind of looks, just looks.
Yeah, she paid for the ad, and I met Stanier and her husband Peter. I was like, is Peter any good? He has his own style. He can play. So I said, okay, I want 2 guitars. You're going to be in the band. And then we tried a couple of bass players and just didn't work out. So we did an audition. We did another ad in the Voice and did an audition and got Henry. I think he was literally number 13, lucky number 13. Super, like he came in with an 8-string Hondo bass that had 4 strings on it, and dreadlocks and these big motorcycle boots, and I was sick trying to teach him Born Annoying because it was in 7/8. It's like, no, it's like da 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 da, and people would just be like, what? And so I just go, we got to go to Henry. Do you know I want to be your dog with Stooges? He's like, yep. I go. So we played that, and I was like, got home, after the rehearsal, I said, that's the guy. And we were all like, yeah, that's the guy. So.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, he's great. He was great. It was great, great time.
Awesome. Cool. Awesome. This is like the first time we've actually spoken more than 5 words in the last 2 years.
I know.
I love you, and I know that we have days when we're like brothers, and then we're like, there are days and weeks and months where we don't see each other at all, and then we just sort of pick up where we left off, and that's what I love about the relationship. And having you here and just watching you and listening to you talk, it just makes me feel like it doesn't feel unusual. It just feels like we pick up where we left off. Only I learned some fun new stuff that filling in some of the backstory that I don't really know about, and listening to you and Joe guitar geek out is great for me, because I'm really not that big of a guitar geek. I'm an amp geek.
Yeah,
and it takes something with 6 strings and a pickup, and you plug it in there, and if it's squealing or out of tune, it's just like, so what? Listen to the sound, and watching you guys like really geek out on this sort of really esoteric stuff, which to me is like, wow, check that out. That's fun for me. So I get to sit back and watch somebody else like run it for a while. So it's really fun for me to just sort of sit back and watch you guys like bat it back and forth. It's great. Thanks.
Oh, it was great. I'm glad. We got to get together and have dinner. It's been way too long.
We used to do that like every 6 months without fail, and it's been so long. Yeah. So yes, we definitely need to get back on that gravy train. And
yeah, it's just been a hell of a 2 years, but I love and miss you too, and Erico, and you guys, please, yes, squeeze her. I'm glad you reminded me of her drunken horror from that was hilarious. It was with her in the car, like in front of the club, throwing up.
Well, the best part of the throwing it was, so she went over to the bouncer's shoulder because she was out cold. He
What?
carried her.
Yeah.
She passed out in the club after drinking like 7 Jaeger bombs or something like that. And
Erico!
we had to drag her out of the restroom and pull her pants up. And then she was such dead weight that the only person that could lift her was the bouncer. So he puts her over his shoulder and carries her down 2 flights of stairs. And she's vomiting down the back of his shirt as they're going down the stairs. And then the guy who was doing our sales at the time had just bought a new Mustang, and he pulls it around to the front of the club, and he's got leather upholstery, and the bouncer pours her into the front seat, and she promptly turns around and vomits on his front seat. And he was like,
Well
his
played,
body
Erico.
language is going, just hang me by my nuts right now and get it over with. But his face was saying, hey, it's okay. It's okay. It's cool. No problem. It's no problem.
He was being cool about it.
Oh, yeah.
With
Yeah.
Marcus.
That was, yeah.
But his soul was on fire.
Totally. Totally.
Knowing Erico, it's so character. She's so classy and beautiful, and just and just I didn't know what was going on. Like there's this kind of hullabaloo up front, and so I came out. I'm like, everything okay out here? No, this really drunk woman just got carried out, and I'm like, oh shit! And I see Erico in the front seat of the car. I'm like, oh no,
not her.
That's oh my god, I can't believe it. That's probably the first and only time we'll ever see that. That was amazing.
Yeah, but according to you, that didn't diminish her in your mind. That raised her to a new level of.
No, I did that. That was me, but I mean, granted, in college when I was 19 or 18 or whatever.
Yeah. Erico rules. We all know it. She comes on the show and does the Nico-chan.
Does the what?
Oh, well, you probably wouldn't know it if you didn't know the romper room stuff. I didn't know this until I started hanging out with Steve.
Well, maybe we should try to bring her in for the sign-off since we're about ready to wrap it up.
Oh, is she available? That would be amazing. And then Paige can actually see what we're talking about in real time.
Yes.
Oh,
we'll bring Nika-chan on for the group goodbye and the sign off.
The finale.
The finale, yeah, the crescendo.
Yeah, the
grand fireworks finale.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nika-chan.
Oh yeah.
Is that Jack Daniels?
Oh yeah, Nika-chan can throw him back.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Nika-chan.
Hello.
Do you have any questions for Paige?
Well, I've been drinking so much. My brain is kind of in the universe. I can't really think so much. Maybe next time. Maybe next time. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think with that, then all the family here will all say, love you very much. Love you guys, the audience. Thanks for hanging out with us. And we'll talk to you all soon. Hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. Joe, great to see your face again. Talk to you soon, eh?
Good night,
okay, guys.
everybody.
All right, we're out.
Bye.